Welcome back to The Explainer. So, you're gearing up to master the ACCA Strategic Business Leader pre-scene for June 2026? Well, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're tearing right into the Dennis and Coco Ltd case study, or DKK for short. But listen, we aren't just going to sit here and read you the facts. No way. We're going to strategically dismantle this case using the TARA Enterprise Risk Framework. We'll figure out exactly how to transfer, avoid, reduce, or accept the massive strategic risks staring DKK right in the face. So grab your notes, get comfortable, and let's decode this blueprint together.
Right out of the gate, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, the central paradox of this entire case study. You see, DK is not just some run-of-the-mill hairdressing business. It's a premium luxury brand, and it's operating in an industry that is shifting incredibly fast. So the absolute core question, the one that should literally govern every single answer you write in this exam is this: how can DKK modernize its operations without destroying its exclusive luxury brand positioning? This is classic, textbook SBL territory. It's that delicate balancing act between pushing for operational efficiency and fiercely protecting premium exclusivity.
To make sure you're fully prepped, here's our game plan. We'll start with DKK's strategic crossroads, then look at framing risks with TARA, mitigating staff shortages, protecting their premium reputation, overcoming technology lag, and finally wrap up with exactly how to ace the SBL exam.
Okay, let's dive into Section 1, DKK's strategic crossroads.
Take a look at the number 40. That number is absolutely crucial here. DKK has enjoyed 40 years of incredible success, and they've built that success on traditional methods, slow organic expansion, and a really relentless focus on premium service. But, the world of 40 years ago, heck, even 10 years ago, is just not the world we live in today. The market is evolving at lightning speed with new tech, sustainability demands, and totally different customer behaviors. So yes, they are highly successful, but right now, they are incredibly vulnerable to strategic drift.
I mean, their scale is absolutely undeniable. They're the third largest hairdressing chain in Kalen. We're talking 50 salons and 390 highly qualified hairdressers, not to mention all the assistants and receptionists. They've got these prime locations, exclusive partnerships with premium global brands, the whole shebang. But despite all that massive scale and premium focus, they are standing at a major strategic crossroads. Basically, their old-school ways of working are on a direct collision course with modern industry standards.
Moving right along to Section 2, framing risks with TARA.
So the examiner actually handed us a risk register in the pre-scene information. When they do that, it's a giant flashing sign that enterprise risk management is a huge priority for this exam. To handle this, we're bringing in the TARA framework. TARA stands for Transfer, Avoid, Reduce, or Accept. It's a strategic tool you use to sort and manage enterprise risks based on two simple things: how likely is the risk to actually happen, and how bad will the impact be if it did. This is the exact mental model you're going to want to use to sort DKK's case facts when you're sitting in the exam room.
Now, what's really interesting about this matrix is seeing how DKK's specific risks actually map out. Check out staff shortages and technology lag. Both of these are sitting at high likelihood and high impact. These are your urgent, red alert, Tier 1 priorities. Then you've got reputation damage. It's a medium for likelihood, but very high for impact, which means a single massive screw-up could literally be catastrophic for the brand. And supplier dependence sits at medium likelihood, but high impact, mostly because of their tight exclusive contracts for premium products. Let's break down how we actually manage those top three.
Which brings us to Section 3, mitigating staff shortages.
Think about it. In a service business like premium hairdressing, the employees aren't just turning the gears of the business. They essentially are the product. If the service quality drops, the whole brand drops with it. So the absolutely crucial move here is that DKK must reduce this high likelihood risk. The whole industry is facing severe staff shortages right now, and highly skilled stylists frequently just up and leave to start their own independent salons. So how do we reduce that risk? We apply solid HR theories directly to the case. DKK has to keep investing heavily in continuous professional development, or CPD. They need to map out really clear internal promotion pathways so the staff actually see a long-term future there. They've got to strengthen the reward systems, like handing out solid commissions on those high-margin retail sales. And above all else, the company culture has to make these professionals feel valued and totally aligned with a true luxury brand.
All right, on to Section 4, protecting premium reputation.
Keep this in mind. DKK does not compete on price, ever. They compete on luxury, total exclusivity, and a perfectly flawless customer experience. Because damaging that reputation carries a very high impact, DKK needs a smart mix of avoid and reduce strategies here. First up, they have to actively avoid rapid, uncontrolled salon expansion. Growing too fast without enough top-tier staff will instantly dilute that premium feel. Second, they need to reduce operational risks by keeping their health and safety controls incredibly strict. Maintaining those excellent HSA ratings across all 50 salons isn't just a nice-to-have, it's completely non-negotiable. And finally, as they start dipping their toes into digital marketing, they have to reduce reputational threats by rolling out crystal-clear social media usage policies. One off-brand digital interaction can do a lot of damage, so they have to lock that down.
Let's pivot to Section 5, Overcoming Technology Lag.
This one is an absolute Tier 1 priority for the June exam. There's just this glaring contradiction right at the heart of DKK. On one side, you have this premium, luxury brand catering to very wealthy clients. But on the other side, their daily operations are practically prehistoric. They're heavily relying on paper appointment booking, manual inventory counting, and they have barely any online presence. Meanwhile, the baseline required state for today's modern, high-end consumers includes the absolute convenience of online booking, automated SMS reminders, and slick CRM, customer relationship management systems that actually track a client's personal preferences.
But here's the catch for the SBL exam. You can't just write down, they should buy new software. It doesn't work like that. You have to strategically explain how to reduce the massive risks of implementing that tech. That's how you build a complete answer. First, DKK has to secure and clearly justify the substantial upfront costs. Second, they've got to provide comprehensive staff training because you cannot let the service quality drop for even a second during the transition. Third, and this is a big one, they must manage stakeholder resistance. You're going to have long-serving staff who absolutely love their old paper diaries and don't want to change. And lastly, if you are storing the personal data of very wealthy clients on a new system, you must implement stringent cybersecurity to reduce the risk of a data breach.
And finally, Section 6, Acing the SBL exam.
So how do you actually translate all this into maximum marks on your paper? Let's look at the current weaknesses listed in the pre-scene. Paper-based booking, manual inventory, no e-commerce. If you just list those out, you're not going to cut it. You have to use the so what principle. You have to show the operational and strategic fallout of those facts. For example, if you say DKK relies on paper booking, you've got to ask yourself, so what? Well, the so what is that it creates massive operational inefficiencies. We're talking double bookings, admin delays, and a hugely heavy workload for the receptionists that distracts them from the clients.
Let's look at this exact quote on screen. This is the jackpot. This is the exact kind of extended bullet point that examiners absolutely love to see. Quote, competitors adopting digital systems may gain customer convenience advantages and improve scheduling efficiency. DKK risks appearing outdated to modern consumers. End quote. Do you see what happened right there? We didn't just state a basic fact about their old technology. We completely linked it to competitive advantage, customer convenience, scheduling efficiency, and overall brand perception. That is exactly how you craft a balanced case-supplied argument that scores at the very top.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a critical lens to look through. When you're sitting in that exam room, before you recommend a single piece of new software, a brand new salon location, or a flashy marketing campaign, ask yourself, does this modernization initiative truly align with DKK's premium brand positioning? As DKK looks out toward 2026, are they going to successfully bridge that gap between modern digital convenience and timeless luxury? Or will their relentless pursuit of efficiency ultimately destroy the very exclusivity that built their empire in the first place? Think about it. Good luck with your prep.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we are tackling an absolute must-know topic, basically a massive Tier 1 priority for the ACCA SBL June 2026 exam. We're looking at DKK's sustainability and ESG strategy. Look, if you want to maximize your marks and really understand what the examiner is digging for with this pre-scene material, you absolutely need to understand exactly how environmental initiatives fit into a high-end premium business model. Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, DKK's premium brand positioning. Second, the environmental reality. Third, shifting client expectations. Fourth, the strategic fit. And finally, implementation risks. You know, before we look at anything else, there is one crucial question I want you to literally burn into your memory. How can DKK modernize without damaging its luxury brand? This right here is the core strategic paradox the ACCA examiner wants you to solve. DKK is essentially being used as a vehicle to test broader business strategy issues. Every single recommendation you make, especially when we're talking about sustainability, has to balance that modern pressure to evolve against the absolute necessity of preserving their traditional exclusivity. All right, Section 1, DKK's premium brand positioning. So to figure out how to modernize DKK, we've got to establish exactly who they are today. See that number 40? That represents DKK's track record, 40 years of success. They're the third largest hairdressing chain in Cayland, and their entire foundation is built strictly on luxury. They rely on highly skilled hairdressers, prime salon locations, and a super exclusive, highly personalized premium service. They operate in the excellent market segment, meaning they don't compete on price, they compete entirely on experience and reputation. Now, if you look at the XP Group analysis of the pre-scene document, it explicitly emphasizes sustainability and ESG as a Tier 1 priority. When the ACCA pre-scene material repeatedly references things like waste, water usage, chemicals, electricity, and eco-conscious customers, trust me, it's not an accident. This is a deliberate breadcrumb trail from the examiner, and you have to be ready to integrate it right into your exam answers. Moving on to Section 2, the environmental reality. So why does the examiner keep bringing this up? Well, frankly, because the hairdressing industry's day-to-day operational footprint is shockingly heavy. Just think about it. A single salon can use thousands of liters of water a day just washing hair. That's enough to fill a community swimming pool over the course of a year. Add to that the intense electricity usage for styling tools, lighting, heating, plus the significant waste from packaging and chemicals. Now multiply all of that across DKK's 50 salons and you've got a massive environmental impact. But hey, this is an SBL exam, right? So we always have to apply the so what rule. Why does the board of directors actually care about this? Because going green isn't just about saving the planet. It's about mitigating direct, hard financial risk. High resource usage exposes DKK to severe utility price volatility. Lowering energy and water consumption directly tackles the risk of rising utility costs. It creates a highly tangible, long-term financial benefit. Which brings us to Section 3. Shifting client ESG expectations. Now, the pressure isn't just coming from massive utility bills. People used to assume that sustainability was only a big deal for budget or niche alternative brands. Well, that is completely outdated. Today, wealthy, premium clients increasingly expect ethical sourcing and eco-friendly practices. This is an active, vocal demand from DKK's eco-conscious luxury customer base. They absolutely want their high-end experiences to align with their personal values. Now, what's really fascinating about this analysis is the critical warning hidden in there. Failing to respond to these expectations actively threatens DKK's competitive position. Think about it. If rival premium salons adopt sustainable products and DKK just ignores the trend, DKK risks looking totally outdated. They could easily lose market share to competitors who actually understand what modern luxury looks like. All right, Section 4, the strategic fit. So here's the absolute strategic climax. I want you to contrast a weak exam answer with a strong, top-tier SBL extended point. A basic weak answer just says, DKK should use less water and electricity to be green. And honestly, the marker will just shrug at that. But a strong SBL point argues, investing in water-saving technology reduces utility volatility and proves environmental responsibility, which actively strengthens the premium brand positioning to DKK's eco-conscious clients. See the difference? That is the balanced commercial strategic insight that SBL markers absolutely love. You always have to link the action back to the brand and the bottom line. To make sure we have the exact terminology totally locked in for exam day, let's look at this definition. In the specific context of DKK, an ESG strategy is the integration of environmental and social initiatives to simultaneously reduce operational costs and strengthen competitive differentiation. It is not some side charity project. It is a core business strategy meant to protect their excellent market positioning. Finally, Section 5, implementation risks and greenwashing. Now, a truly great SBL answer has to be balanced, right? You can't just rattle off all the benefits without looking at the downsides. Check out this exact quote from the source material. DKK must avoid superficial greenwashing and ensure initiatives are genuine and measurable. If DKK decides to roll out fake, superficial sustainability campaigns just for a quick marketing win, they will critically damage stakeholder trust. For a premium brand that relies entirely on its reputation and those strong client relationships, losing credibility, that's a complete strategic disaster. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the real-world challenge here. Balancing green initiatives requires some very careful operational and supplier risk management. If DKK wants to pivot to sustainable products, they risk blowing up their current exclusive supplier contracts. They'd have to go out and find new, ethical suppliers who can actually meet their crazy high premium quality standards. Plus, there is a massive upfront investment required in eco-technology. And above all else, through all of this operational disruption, they absolutely must maintain that luxurious 40-year-old salon feel. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. Is DKK's sustainability push going to become this massive, poorly managed, costly operational burden, or will they actually leverage it to become their ultimate luxury differentiator? Understanding that tension is exactly how you pass this exam. Keep that strategic balance in mind, remember to always explain the so what, and you will be perfectly prepared to tackle DKK's future. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and best of luck with your studies.
Hey everyone, if you're gearing up for the June 2026 ACCA SBL exam, you are exactly where you need to be. I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through this intensive, high-yield explainer on the Dennis and Coco Limited, or DKK, precinct case study. We are going to take that massive 31-page analysis provided by the XPG Group and completely distill it down to the absolute must-know strategic frameworks. So grab a pen, get ready to take some notes because we are about to break down exactly what you need to do to pass. Okay, let's dive right into this because the central question for DKK is honestly the beating heart of your upcoming exam. DKK has spent 40 years building this impeccable luxury brand. But right now, the market is completely shifting under their feet. The core strategic tension that should drive literally every single recommendation you write in that exam room is this: how on earth do they evolve and become more efficient without stripping away the exclusivity and that personal touch that their wealthy clients pay top dollar for? So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to cover the strategic crossroads DKK is facing, then tackle the digital transformation dilemma, explore the talent and HR crisis, evaluate sustainability and operational risks, and finally, look at how to apply those classic SBL models.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the DKK Strategic Crossroads, Legacy versus Evolution.
Now, when you look at DKK, remember the examiner isn't just testing whether you know how a hair salon works. DKK is a vehicle. It's a carefully constructed scenario to test your grasp of complex business strategy under pressure. To really nail this, you've got to view it through the lens of Bowman's strategy clock. DKK sits firmly in the differentiation position on that clock. We're talking high perceived value and high prices. Contrast that with competitors like Trims, who are playing a strict low-price strategy for basic no-frills services. Let me just speak directly to you here. You absolutely must defend DKK's premium strategy in your exam. There is no way you should ever suggest they compete on price. Instead, your entire job is to justify their high fees by highlighting their exceptional luxury service, bespoke client consultations, and those highly exclusive products.
Look, DKK has had 40 years of massive success relying on traditional, face-to-face, really high-touch methods, but they are at a major strategic crossroads right now. They're staring down some severe industry headwinds. We're talking rapid technological advancements, growing sustainability expectations from their clients, and serious industry-wide labor shortages. Doing things the old way just isn't going to guarantee their future survival.
Moving right along to Section 2, the digital transformation dilemma, modernizing a luxury brand.
This digital dilemma, it is a Tier 1, highest priority theme. The examiner goes well out of their way to repeatedly mention DKK's manual processes. And you know, when an SBL examiner repeats something, that's basically a flashing neon sign. Let's see how this builds into the perfect exam answer using the So What framework. Step 1, the fact. DKK relies on paper booking systems like it's still 1995. But you can't stop there. Ask yourself, so what? Step 2, the issue. Well, this creates double bookings. And let me tell you, nothing ruins a luxury vibe faster than two VIPs showing up for the exact same chair. Okay, so what? Step 3, the impact. Competitors who use digital systems are gaining a massive convenience advantage, and DKK risks looking completely outdated to modern consumers. That right there is exactly how you write a passing, extended bullet point.
But watch out, because here is the trap. If you just go in and tell DKK to automate absolutely everything, you're probably going to fail. SBL markers love balanced discussions. Think about it. Could too much automation, like forcing older, wealthy clients to navigate some clunky app, actually damage that highly personalized luxury feel? You have to carefully weigh the benefits of operational efficiency against stakeholder resistance and the ultimate customer experience. All right, on to Section 3, the talent and HR crisis, where the employees are the product.
In a premium service model like DKK's, the employees aren't just staff. They essentially are the product. If the quality of the haircut or the service falls, the entire brand goes down with it. Right now, the whole industry is facing severe staff shortages. And since DKK relies entirely on highly skilled individuals to justify those premium prices we talked about, retention is an absolute must. So if an HR question pops up, don't just list off generic motivation theories from a textbook. Actually apply them. Explain exactly how robust continuous professional development, internal promotions, and carefully tailored reward systems solve DKK's specific retention issues and protect their luxury positioning.
Next up, Section 4, Sustainability and Operational Risks.
And this brilliantly illustrates why context matters. The examiner deliberately threw a risk register and highly specific metrics around water, electricity, and chemical usage into the pre-scene. That is your cue to prioritize ESG and risk management. Notice on here that while staff shortages and technology lag both have a high impact, reputation damage actually has a very high impact. For a premium brand that's charging top-tier prices, reputation isn't just important, it is literally everything. It's their most valuable asset and, without a doubt, their most vulnerable risk.
Let's drill down into sustainability for a second. DKK is going through a ton of water and electricity, plus they have chemical waste issues to handle. On top of that, their wealthy customer base is getting increasingly eco-conscious. But guys, you have to think commercially here. Yes, for sure, there are reputational benefits to going green, but you've got to balance those ESG benefits against the actual tangible operational costs and the potential supply chain disruptions that come with ethical sourcing.
And finally, Section 5, Applying SBL strategic models to the DKK case.
The real secret to scoring high isn't just memorizing these models, it's seamlessly weaving DKK-specific DNA into the classic academic frameworks. Take Porter's 5 forces, for instance. Just look at supplier power. DKK is completely reliant on exclusive contracts for those premium products. Now that gives them a massive differentiation advantage. They're the only ones in K-land with these specific goods, but it also creates a severe concentration risk. If that one supplier suddenly jacks up the prices or pulls the contract, DKK is in serious trouble. You've got to make sure you're pointing out both sides of that coin.
So the crucial point is how you map all this out in a SWOT analysis. DK's incredibly loyal, wealthy client base, that's a massive strength. But they're dragging around some heavy weaknesses too, like centralized, really slow structures, rising operational costs, and yeah, those outdated paper booking systems. Your strategy recommendations have to leverage their strengths to fix those glaring weaknesses.
I'm going to pause right here and speak directly to you. If you remember one thing from this explainer, remember this golden rule. Good SBL answers are balanced. Evaluate the trade-offs. I literally cannot drill this examiner advice into your heads enough. Every single recommendation you make for DKK, whether you're suggesting a new app, a green initiative, or changing up an HR policy, must be carefully weighted against its impact on their core luxury brand.
I want you to keep this provocative thought front and center in your mind. When you sit down in that exam room, how are you going to balance DKK's urgent need for modern efficiency with its completely non-negotiable demand for absolute luxury? Master that balance, rely on the so what framework to build out your points, and you are absolutely going to crush this paper. Best of luck with your revision and stay totally focused.
Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome ACCA SBL candidates to this explainer on the Disney and Coco Limited, or DKK, pre-scene material for your June 2026 exam session. We're going to take this sprawling 31-page document, break it all down, and pull out the absolute core themes you really need to know to pass. And to keep our thoughts brilliantly organized, we're going to look at DKK through the lens of McKinsey's 7S framework, specifically focusing in on shared values, strategy, systems, and staff. So right off the bat, here is the central paradox of this entire scenario. DKK has been wildly successful for 40 years, right? But now they're hitting a wall as the market rapidly evolves around them. The ultimate question the examiner is implicitly asking you is right here. How can DKK modernize its operations without damaging the exclusive luxury brand positioning it has spent 4 decades building? Keep this question in the back of your mind for literally every single recommendation you make. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. DKK strategic crossroads. 2. Shared values, premium brand. 3. Strategy, modernizing without damage. 4. Systems, the digital upgrade. 5. Staff, retaining key talent. And finally, 6. Acing the SBL exam. Starting off with Section 1, DKK's strategic crossroads. Now, it is absolutely vital to realize that DKK is not just a hairdressing business. The examiner is using this company as a vehicle to test your grasp on broad, really complex business strategy issues. Taking an overall strategic view, DKK is a strong, privately owned premium brand operating in a highly fragmented industry. They have an excellent reputation, super loyal, wealthy customers, and these exclusive supplier relationships. But they're operating in an environment facing rapid, turbulent changes. We're talking technology shifts, rising sustainability expectations, social media influence, and severe labor shortages. They are basically caught right in the middle between their traditional past success and an urgent need to adapt. Moving to Section 2, shared values, specifically their premium brand. In the 7S framework, shared values represent the core identity of the company, and for DKK, that identity is 100% built on premium positioning. Listen, DKK does not compete on price. No way. They compete on luxury, exclusivity, and experience. They secure prime salon locations, they offer free pre-appointment consultations, and they maintain exclusive partnerships with premium global brands. This exclusivity is DKK's golden goose. Their wealthy clients are incredibly loyal, which actually makes DKK way less vulnerable to economic downturns compared to their competitors. You absolutely must protect this positioning at all costs in your exam answers. You might be surprised to hear this, but this premium identity extends way beyond just haircuts. Historically, retail sales of exclusive styling tools and hair care products have exceeded 6% of DKK's total revenue. Because they hold exclusive contracts to be the absolute only seller of certain premium products in Kalen, this is a massive strategic asset. However, and this is a big however, the source material notes this vital KPI has recently weakened slightly. This is exactly the kind of nuance an SBL marker wants to see you investigate. All right, Section 3, Strategy, Modernizing without damage. So how does DKK's management actually execute on modernizing without causing damage to those shared values we just talked about? Well, the most likely scenario you're going to face on exam day is stepping into a situation where DKK's management is actively debating modernization initiatives. You won't just be asked, hey, should they buy some new software? That's way too basic for the Strategic Business Leader exam. You'll be expected to evaluate the strategic fit of these changes, the impact on various stakeholders, and how to protect that long-term luxury positioning while completely changing the way the business operates. When you're looking at their strategy, you've got to focus on strategic change management. I mean, the business has used traditional approaches for 40 years. Evolving means you need to be prepared to write about transformational leadership and how to handle tricky stakeholder management. Expect long-serving staff to resist these changes for sure. Your job is going to be evaluating how management balances necessary innovation, like new tech or sustainability practices, with the heritage that made them so successful in the very first place. Which brings us to Section 4, Systems and the Digital Upgrade. Honestly, this is where we see the most jarring contrast within DKK's entire business model. For a company charging top dollar for ultra-premium luxury services, their back-office systems are shockingly outdated. I mean, their current state relies heavily on paper-based appointment books and manual inventory management with absolutely zero online booking or e-commerce capabilities. None. Now, contrast that with the broader industry evolution, which is moving rapidly toward online scheduling, deep customer relationship management systems, and heavy digital engagement. This technological lag is a Tier 1, absolute highest priority preparation area for your exam. But remember, the SBL exam is all about balanced arguments. If DKK decides to go all in on digital transformation, there are massive considerations. First off, it requires substantial upfront expenditure. Second, as we mentioned, there's going to be major resistance from long-serving staff who like the old ways. Third, the second you digitize customer records, cybersecurity and data protection become massive, massive risks. And finally, here's the most SBL-style trade-off. Wealthy premium customers absolutely expect the convenience of online booking, right? But could too much automation accidentally damage that personalized luxury feel that literally defines DKK? Next up, Section 5, Staff and Retaining Key Talent. In a premium service business like hairdressing, we really have to remember one fundamental truth. The highly skilled employees essentially are the product. If the service quality falls, the brand falls. Right now, DKK employs 390 hairdressers, 155 assistants, 60 receptionists, and 62 head office staff. What you really need to take away from these numbers is that the wider industry is facing severe staff shortages. Retaining these highly skilled individuals is mission critical. High-performing hairdressers might easily be tempted by entrepreneurial opportunities or rival premium chains. That means DKK's entire premium model is at risk if they can't hold on to their best people. So how do they actually do that? Well, you need to move beyond just listing HR theories and apply them directly to DKK. First, they need to strengthen reward systems, maybe through retail sales commissions or recognition programs. Second, create clear internal promotion paths so staff can actually see a future within the company. Third, evaluate increasing salon manager autonomy. DKK is highly centralized right now, and giving managers more operational control could really improve motivation. And finally, continue investing heavily in continuous professional development, or CPD, to keep skills sharp and staff fully engaged.
And that brings us to our final section, acing the SBL exam.
You've got the strategic concepts down, so now let's talk about execution on exam day. I literally cannot emphasize this enough. You must use the so what principle. A poorly prepared candidate is going to look at the pre-scene and write, DKK currently relies on paper booking systems. Okay, so what? What does that actually mean for the business? Guys, if you just list facts, you will not pass. You have to explain the operational or strategic consequence of that fact. To put that into perspective, this is what a jackpot, pass-worthy extended point actually looks like. You state the fact, they use paper systems. Then you add the operational impact. This creates operational inefficiencies, including double bookings and administrative delays. And then you deliver the strategic knockout punch. Competitors adopting digital systems may gain a customer convenience advantage, meaning DKK risks appearing outdated to modern consumers. Boom. That links the operational inefficiency directly back to the strategic risk. That is exactly how you earn the highest marks. You also really need to secure your easy professional presentation marks. The predicted exam formats for this session are likely to be a board report, a recommendation memo, a briefing paper, or a strategic evaluation document. Whatever they ask for, format your answer exactly as requested. If they ask for a memo, make it look like a memo. Don't throw away those easy presentation marks, seriously. I want to leave you with this final kind of provocative thought. As you're sitting there in the exam room, looking at whatever initiative the examiner throws at DKK, whether it's a massive digital CRM rollout, a new sustainability program, or changing their supplier contracts, ask yourself this one question. Does your recommendation improve efficiency, or does it weaken the brand image? In SBL, those trade-offs matter immensely. Modernize the business, yes, for sure, but protect that premium brand at all costs. Best of luck with your revision, and keep this 7S framework front and center as you prepare.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really fascinating case study for your upcoming ACCA Strategic Business Leader, or SBL, exam. We're looking at Dennis & Coco Ltd., better known as DKK. They are at a huge strategic crossroads right now, and we're going to break down exactly how to tackle their biggest hurdle.
I mean, think about it. How does a premium luxury brand survive using literally 1980s technology? It's a massive contradiction, right? DKK is this incredibly successful 40-year-old luxury hairdressing brand. They've got the wealthy clients, the gorgeous premium salons, the top-tier staff, but they're still running the whole show on paper appointment books.
So let's really look at this clash. On one hand, you've got DKK's phenomenal brand reputation, premium salons, exclusive products, wealthy, super loyal clients. But then, on the flip side, their tech reality is just, well, paper bookings, manual inventory counting, and absolutely zero e-commerce. Now, when you're sitting in that exam, you've got to apply the so what rule. Relying on paper isn't just some quirky vintage charm. As the pre-scene analysis makes crystal clear, it causes major operational headaches like double bookings and admin delays. And that right there is a direct threat to their luxury reputation. You just can't claim to offer a flawless premium service if your booking system is causing absolute chaos at the front desk.
To snag those top marks, we'll be using the POP-IT framework as our roadmap today. Information technology, processes, organization, and people.
Starting with number 1, information technology, upgrading DKK's systems.
The XP Group hit the nail on the head here with their analysis. DKK is seriously risking looking totally outdated to modern consumers. The whole industry is moving fast. Competitors are already jumping on digital systems, and wealthy, modern customers, they absolutely expect online convenience. They want digital interactions, they want personalized comms. So investing in customer relationship management, CRM systems, and online booking software isn't just nice to have, it is absolutely crucial to stop DKK from looking irrelevant. If competitors get there first, they win on customer convenience. Just keep in mind for your exam, though, that bringing in all this new IT does introduce new headaches, like cybersecurity and data protection, which definitely need to be managed.
Moving on to pillar number 2, processes, from paper to digital.
This is where we see the day-to-day changes.
We're talking about completely ditching those old manual processes, the paper books, the manual inventory, the frustrating admin delays. Instead, we're bringing in digital solutions, online booking, integrated salon management software, and automated SMS reminders. And why does this matter? Well, it fixes those glaring inefficiencies. Think about it. Automated SMS reminders can practically wipe out expensive no-shows. But honestly, the biggest win for a luxury brand here is what it does for the reception staff. Instead of being buried under a mountain of paperwork, they are freed up to actually look at the client, smile, and provide that uninterrupted, premium welcome that a luxury brand is known for.
Next up, Pillar 3, Organization, Adapting the Structure.
Okay, here's a massive point for your exam strategy. You have to balance a fundamental tension. Right now, DKK is highly centralized. That's great because it gives them an iron grip on brand control and ensures consistent luxury standards across all 50 of their salons. But as they bring in these new technologies, there's a real push to give salon managers a bit more autonomy. Decentralizing could be a game changer for local responsiveness, staff motivation, and just general operational flexibility. It's a tightrope walk, though. The challenge is letting go enough to boost innovation without accidentally creating inconsistencies that ruin the luxury experience they're famous for.
And finally, Pillar 4, People, Managing Human Resistance.
This quote from the pre-scene is absolutely classic SBL territory. Some long-serving employees may resist technological change. Well, yeah, for sure. DKK has been wildly successful for 40 years doing things the old-school way. You literally cannot just drop a brand new digital system onto the laps of hairdressers who have used a paper diary for decades and expect them to cheer. You have to manage that human resistance. Plus, remember, the whole industry is facing staff shortages right now. If you force this tech down their throats and frustrate your highly skilled staff, they're going to walk. And when they leave, they take their wealthy, loyal clients right out the door with them.
So how does management actually fix this and protect their best asset? They need to take these specific steps. First, transformational leadership. Leaders have to clearly explain the why behind this whole modernization. Second, phased implementation. Don't do it all at once. Roll the tech out gradually to keep the panic levels down. And third, continuous professional development or CPD and staff training. You have to heavily upskill the staff. They need to feel super confident and supported using these new systems, not threatened by them.
Bringing it all together, digital transformation actually aligns perfectly with DKK's premium positioning. Wealthy clients today don't just want a phenomenal haircut, they expect it to be wrapped in seamless digital convenience. If DKK can successfully juggle all the PIPIT elements we just talked about, managing their people, adapting the organization, digitizing those processes, and rolling out the right IT, they can modernize safely. It's about fixing the back-office chaos while fiercely protecting the one thing that matters most, their luxury brand identity.
So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on as you prep for your exam. As DKK rolls out all these slick digital systems and automated processes, how do they make sure that automation doesn't completely destroy the personalized touch? Can they digitize their client relationships without making the whole experience feel, less exclusive? That is exactly the kind of nuanced strategic debate the SBL markers are dying to see. Keep that tension in mind as you analyze the case. Happy studying and good luck.
Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a totally fascinating ACCA SBL case study, Dennis & Coco Ltd., or as we'll call them, DKK. We're looking at a wildly successful premium hairdressing chain that has essentially dominated its market for 40 years. But right now, they are standing at a pretty massive precipice, needing to figure out how to survive in an industry that's shifting faster than ever.
Now, you might be wondering, how exactly does a 40-year-old luxury brand modernize without, completely losing its soul? That is the ultimate strategic paradox we're facing here. DKK has built this incredible reputation on exclusive, high-touch luxury service, but their internal systems, well, they're kind of stuck in the dark ages. The central challenge we really need to unpack today is how management can drag DKK's outdated systems into the modern era without destroying the very essence of the premium brand they've spent 4 decades building.
Here is our roadmap for the Explainer today. We'll quickly hit the strategic crossroads, dive into the threat of strategic drift, explore the digital transformation dilemma, and then talk about protecting the premium brand, retaining highly skilled staff, and finally, managing strategic change. All right, starting with part 1, the strategic crossroads. So DKK is absolutely a premium titan, right? They've got loyal, wealthy clients, incredibly skilled staff, and really solid governance. but the ground is literally shifting beneath their feet. They are facing severe labor shortages, new sustainability expectations from eco-conscious customers, and, most importantly, an industry that is just rapidly adopting new tech. They simply can't keep doing what they've always done and expect to stay on top.
Which brings us to Section 2, the looming threat of strategic drift.
Look at this stark contrast. It perfectly captures the concept of strategic drift. DKK's current reality involves actual paper appointment books, manual inventory counting, zero online booking, and barely any social media presence. Meanwhile, the rest of the industry is evolving like crazy, using automated salon management software, instant online booking, and even augmented reality hairstyle previews. Clinging to these traditional methods seriously risks making DKK look totally obsolete to modern tech-savvy consumers. And pulling straight from their COSO framework risk register, you can see why this is so critical. Technology lag and staff shortages aren't just minor annoyances. They are officially rated as high likelihood and high impact threats. And reputation damage, that's rated as a very high impact, which makes total sense for a luxury brand. Doing nothing just isn't an option here. The whole business model is fundamentally threatened by these pressures.
So let's look at Section 3, the digital transformation dilemma.
We have to ask the so what question. Why does this matter? Well, a paper system doesn't just look old school. It actively causes operational disasters. We're talking double bookings and administrative delays that totally ruin the customer experience. Meanwhile, competitors are handing a massive convenience advantage to their clients. Think about it. If your rival lets clients book a haircut from their smartphone at midnight and you force them to call during business hours, you are losing ground fast. But here is the real rub. Will automation kill that personalized luxury vibe? We know wealthy premium customers expect the convenience of an online booking app, but could too much automation strip away the VIP, high-touch service they're paying top dollar for? You definitely don't want a luxury salon experience feeling like you're tapping a screen at a fast food joint, right? That tension between efficiency and exclusivity is at the absolute heart of their strategy. Moving on to Section 4, protecting the premium brand. Whenever DKK evaluates any kind of new digital system, they have to run it through a very specific filter. See, DKK does not compete on price, not at all. They compete strictly on premium differentiation. Their entire strategy relies on having prime locations, luxurious salon environments, highly qualified hairdressers, and exclusive global brand partnerships. Any modernization effort has to strictly align with preserving those core luxury differentiators. If a new software saves them money but makes the brand feel cheap, it's a massive strategic failure. Next up, Section 5, retaining highly skilled staff. Let's pivot to the human element for a second, because the fanciest software in the world is totally useless without the right people wielding the scissors. In a service business, your people literally are your product. If service quality tanks because experienced staff get frustrated and leave to open independent salons, which is a huge industry trend right now, the DKK brand completely falls apart. You simply cannot have a luxury salon without luxury to your talent. To fight off these severe industry staff shortages, DKK has got to heavily integrate robust talent management practices. And we aren't just talking about basic admin tasks here. These are core business continuity strategies. They need stronger reward systems like lucrative retail sales commissions. They need a real focus on internal promotion and enhancing continuing professional development. But most importantly, they have to build a culture where highly skilled hairdressers feel valued, recognized, and genuinely want to stick around. And finally, Section 6, managing strategic change. Okay, so introducing flashy new software into a 40-year-old traditional culture is going to cause some serious, immediate friction. Long-serving employees who have managed their appointments in a physical paper book for decades are incredibly likely to resist this. Management can't just drop an iPad on the front desk and say, good luck. They have to actively manage the human reaction to this change. This is exactly where applying a structured framework, like John Cotter's 8 Steps of Change Management, becomes absolutely essential for DKK's survival. To actually pull this off without a staff revolt, management must lean on something like Cotter's 8 Steps. First, they've got to create a real sense of urgency and build a guiding coalition to communicate the strategic vision. They need to show the staff exactly why going digital is critical for the salon's survival. Then they can generate some short-term wins through a phased step-by-step implementation, which minimizes operational chaos. Finally, giving them comprehensive training empowers broad-based action. It proves to the staff that this technology is a tool designed to elevate their craft, not replace them. And just look at the stakeholder map for a second. Under Mendelow's matrix, the staff might technically sit in that low-power, high-interest quadrant. But here's the catch. Because their daily performance directly dictates the premium service quality that clients are paying for, actively managing their experience, keeping them informed, trained, and engaged is absolutely paramount. You have to keep them on board during this digital transformation. So, we've covered the incredibly tightrope DKK has to walk between modernizing their operations and preserving their 40-year luxury legacy. I'm going to leave you with this one final provocative thought to take into your ACCA SBL exam prep. As technology continues to take over literally every aspect of the business world, how do you automate a relationship without losing the human touch? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and definitely keep that question in the back of your mind as you review the case.
All right, let's jump straight into this explainer and break down the really critical risks facing Dennis & Coco Ltd. in your upcoming ACCA SBL exam. If you're prepping for June 2026, you already know DKK is this highly successful ultra-premium brand operating in a really fragmented, cutthroat hairdressing industry. But listen, being successful today absolutely does not guarantee survival tomorrow. So today, we are taking a structured visual deep dive right into DKK's risk matrix to understand exactly where this luxury empire is most vulnerable.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to look at DKK's strategic crossroads, map out the risk matrix framework, tackle those high-impact, high-likelihood threats, explore the threat to reputation, and wrap it all up with your strategic exam takeaways.
Let's start with Section 1, DKK's strategic crossroads.
Think about this for a second. What forces could actually bring down a 40-year luxury empire? DKK is massive. They've grown through organic expansion and savvy acquisitions, they hold incredible prime locations, and they enjoy fierce brand loyalty from wealthy clients. They have weathered economic downturns way better than most. So why are we even talking about risk? Because the industry environment around them is shifting incredibly fast, and their stubborn insistence on doing things the traditional way is pushing them right to a very dangerous strategic crossroads.
Just wrap your head around the sheer scale of their operation. 50 salons, 390 highly qualified hairdressers. Their entire premium brand positioning is built entirely on personalized customer service, gorgeous luxury environments, and exclusive contracts with top-tier global brands. They aren't competing on price, they're competing on the experience. But trying to perfectly replicate that identical, ultra-premium, highly skilled vibe across 50 different locations, that requires immense operational control.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Risk Matrix Framework.
Put yourself in the shoes of a strategic leader here. You've got to weigh threats based on two key things. How likely are they to happen, and how badly will they damage DKK's premium positioning if they actually do? That's exactly what the risk matrix is for. It acts as your filter. It forces management to stop sweating the small stuff and laser focus their resources on the truly pressing existential threats facing the business.
Now, this data is pulled straight from page 31 of your pre-scene document. It's basically a perfect bird's-eye view of what could go wrong. Notice this cluster of risks sitting at high likelihood and high impact, staff shortages, competition, and technology lag. And then, look at reputation damage. Medium likelihood, sure, but a terrifyingly very high impact. Seriously, this table is essentially your cheat sheet for the exact themes the examiner wants you to zero in on.
Which brings us to Section 3, High Impact, High Likelihood.
The examiner is practically grabbing you by the shoulders and pointing at these three culprits: finding good staff, fending off agile competitors, and fixing their outdated tech. Hairdressing has incredibly low barriers to entry, right? Anybody can open a regional chain or independent salon and try to copy DKK's premium offering. Add an industry-wide staff shortage to that intense competition, and you've got a perfect storm. But honestly, the biggest, most glaring self-inflicted wound here, their technology lag.
Check out this contrast. It is wild. Despite being a top-tier luxury brand, DKK is still relying on paper-based booking systems. Yes, in a luxury salon in 2026, they are literally flipping through physical paper diaries. Manual inventory management, no online booking functionality, barely any social media. Meanwhile, the rest of the industry is completely modernizing. Rapid digital transformations, online scheduling, and sophisticated customer relationship management tools. It's a completely different world out there.
So you might be wondering, why does this actually matter? Well, DKK's tech lag is creating massive operational headaches, like double booking clients. Ultimately, it makes this supposed luxury brand look completely out of touch and outdated to modern consumers.
Wealthy clients expect seamless convenience. They want to book online. They want instant SMS reminders. If DKK doesn't modernize, their competitors are just going to swoop in with a far smoother experience. But here's the SBL catch you have to remember. Can DKK digitize without losing that exclusive, high-touch luxury feel?
And let's not forget the staff. In hairdressing, the employees literally are the product. DK's entire premium model hinges on these highly skilled stylists. If a star hairdresser leaves to set up their own shop, guess what? Their wealthy, loyal clients follow them right out the door. If DK can't recruit and keep top-tier talent, their service quality dips. And when you are charging absolute top dollar, even a slight dip in quality at one single salon can cause a 40-year brand reputation to start crumbling.
Let's pivot to Section 4, the threat to reputation.
This is the big one, because DKK competes entirely on its luxury reputation. Any health, safety, or service failure could destroy customer trust in an instant. They do not compete on price. If a cheap budget salon messes up, a customer might let it slide because, hey, it was 20 bucks. But if a client is paying top dollar at a DKK salon, they expect absolute perfection. A poor customer experience, or worse, a health and safety failure amplified by social media would spread like wildfire and be absolutely catastrophic. And this reputation risk is totally tied up with their suppliers. DKK leans heavily on just 2 major exclusive contracts for their premium products. Now that's fantastic for standing out from the crowd, but it creates a massive concentration risk. If those exclusive suppliers hike their prices, run into supply chain roadblocks, or face their own PR nightmare, DKK's brand is going to catch all that collateral damage. The clients will associate those problems directly with the DKK experience.
All right, let's bring it all home with Section 5, Strategic Exam Takeaways.
So how do we actually turn all this matrix analysis into passing marks for your June 2026 exam? Because just knowing the business isn't enough. You've got to apply it strategically. That's what the examiner wants to see. Whenever you evaluate a risk, make sure you follow these exact steps. 1. Identify the risk from the matrix. 2. Evaluate its direct impact on DKK's premium identity. And 3. Propose a mitigation strategy. If the exam asks about a new online booking system, you can't just say, yes, buy the software. You have to explain how it impacts the brand. Does it add convenience, or does it make the service feel cheap and robotic? Your mitigation strategy must always balance modernization with preserving the luxury.
I'm going to leave you with this final, crucial question to chew on as you study. Will DKK successfully navigate this matrix and modernize, or are they destined to become a casualty of their own 40-year tradition? You are stepping into the shoes of a strategic leader tasked with solving this exact dilemma. Keep that visual risk matrix front and center in your mind, remember the delicate nature of a premium brand, and you are going to be in a fantastic position. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and best of luck crushing your exam prep.
Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the June 2026 ACCA Strategic Business Leader Pre-Scene Materials for Dennis & Coco Limited, or as we'll be calling them, DKK. We're going to look really closely at their corporate culture, their established routines, and the very real, very messy challenges they're facing as they try to modernize. Honestly, DKK is a fascinating case study of a company fighting to adapt without losing its identity. And to make sense of it all, we're going to view this through the lens of the cultural web framework, specifically examining how their deeply ingrained rituals and routines might either completely block or hopefully support their digital transformation. Let's get into it. So, right off the bat, here is the high-stakes dilemma we're unpacking today. Can a 40-year-old luxury brand digitize its outdated routines without losing its soul? In the cultural web framework, the paradigm is essentially the absolute core belief of the organization. For DKK, that paradigm is built entirely on exclusive, high-touch, personalized luxury. But, the market is shifting fast, and those old ways of working are suddenly under immense pressure. To make this 31-page analysis super digestible for your exam, we'll break it down into 5 quick areas: a strategic crossroads, the digital transformation dilemma, culture and HR, managing strategic change, and finally, some key risk and performance models. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, a strategic crossroads. DKK has enjoyed 40 years of success, 4 decades. That is a massive amount of time to build a very specific corporate culture. Their whole empire has been built on traditional methods, incredibly luxurious salon environments, and highly qualified hairdressers. And here's the thing about the cultural web. When a company does the exact same thing successfully for 40 years, its rituals and routines become so deeply embedded that it literally becomes just the way we do things around here. Changing that? Yeah, it's incredibly difficult. And we aren't just talking about a small, boutique, mom-and-pop shop either. DKK is running 50 salons across Kayland, employing 390 hairdressers, all supported by a huge web of assistants, receptionists, and head office staff. Now, this premium positioning gives them incredible brand loyalty among wealthy customers who demand that exclusive service. But strategically speaking, when you have an organization of this sheer size, shifting the culture requires way more than just a quick email from the CEO. It's going to require a massive change management effort. Which brings us to the crazy paradox of DKK. On one side, you have these incredible premium strengths and super loyal VIPs. But on the other, glaringly outdated routines. I mean, in the year 2026, they are still using paper-based appointment books and manual inventory. Imagine walking into a premium luxury brand today and watching someone frantically flip through physical pages to find your VIP booking. In the cultural web, routines are the everyday behaviors of the company. And right now, DKK's routines are actively threatening their survival against newer, more agile competitors. That leads us right into our highest priority focus area, Section 2, the digital transformation dilemma. The core strategic headache here isn't just about whether DKK should buy some new software. That would be way too easy. The real question is how to balance a wealthy customer's expectation for modern convenience against the huge risk of damaging that personalized luxury experience. Think about the cultural rituals of a DKK salon, a client calling a receptionist who actually recognizes their voice and knows their name. That's a ritual of luxury. If you replace that with a clinical online booking app, do you strip away the luxury feel? That right there is the primary friction point between modern technology and DKK's traditional paradigm. So how on earth do they navigate this? Well, it has to be a highly controlled, phased digital rollout. To mitigate the inevitable resistance from long-serving employees who are perfectly comfortable with their old paper routines, management really has to pace these changes. You start with stakeholder consultation and heavy staff training. You gradually roll out online bookings and CRM systems, and you constantly monitor them to ensure the premium customer experience isn't getting diluted. Basically, you have to evolve the culture slowly and bring the staff along with you. Moving on to Section 3, Culture, HR, and Retention. This is absolutely critical given the severe industry-wide staff shortages right now. I absolutely love this quote from the source material. In a service business, employees are part of the product. If service quality falls, the brand falls. It just brilliantly hits the nail on the head as to why HR is a top strategic priority for DKK. Their entire premium model depends on its people. The hairdressers literally are the physical embodiment of the DKK brand. If you lose your highly skilled staff to competitors, you don't just lose headcount. You lose the core competency that actually justifies your premium pricing in the first place. So to stop the bleeding with high turnover and retain that top-tier talent, DKK has to actively apply theories of motivation. We're talking about continuing their continuous professional development or CPD programs, setting up clear internal promotion pathways, and strengthening reward systems like retail sales commissions. But crucially, it's about maintaining a positive, luxury-aligned culture. Employees need to feel genuinely proud of the brand they represent. A strong, cohesive culture where the organizational paradigm is shared by everyone, that is arguably the most powerful retention tool a service business has. All right, on to Section 4, Managing Strategic Change. Let's look at how management can handle the cultural pushback that always comes with strategic shifts. This brings us to the very real, very scary danger of strategic drift. This happens when there's a gradual deterioration of competitive action, because an organization just fails to respond to changes in its environment. If DKK keeps leaning completely on its 40-year-old traditional approaches, while the rest of the market rapidly evolves with new tech and new ESG sustainability expectations, they're facing a severe risk of strategic drift. Their internal cultural web will just no longer match the external reality of the market. You can just picture the boardroom debates at DKK centering on this exact balancing act. On one side, innovation, adopting CRM software, pushing for sustainable, eco-conscious sourcing, and finally modernizing those daily routines. But on the other side, heritage, protecting their exclusivity, the highly personal service, and that pristine brand reputation. Management literally cannot just push innovation at all costs. They have to use careful change management to blend the new digital routines seamlessly into the existing heritage of the brand. And finally, Section 5, Risk and Performance Models. Let's apply some key models that are going to be critical for your strategic analysis. Applying the COSO Enterprise Risk Management, or ERM framework, is a great way to understand how DKK can proactively handle uncertainty while still aligning with its premium strategy. The whole point of the COSO framework is that risk management isn't just some boring compliance checklist. It has to be completely integrated into the culture and the strategy of the business. When we look at their risk matrix, some really fascinating data points jump out. Stuff like staff shortages and competition are both categorized as high likelihood and high impact. But notice reputation damage down there. It's medium likelihood, but it carries a very high impact. Why is that? Because reputation is literally their most valuable asset. If a clunky digital transformation causes a drop in service quality, or if a new online booking system crashes and ruins a VIP client's day, that reputational damage strikes right at the heart of their premium paradigm. To keep a close eye on all of this, management can lean on the balanced scorecard. This is a brilliant way to measure the overall health of the business, beyond just staring at the financials. Yes, of course, they need to track revenue growth and retail sales, but they also need to look at internal processes. Like, are these new digital appointment routines actually making things more efficient? And under learning and growth, they need to track staff satisfaction and CPD completion, because as we've already established, if staff satisfaction drops, the culture deteriorates, and the customer experience takes an immediate hit. As we wrap things up today, I want to leave you with one absolute golden rule for your exam prep. Throughout your review, you have to continually ask yourself, does this modernization initiative improve efficiency, but at the unacceptable cost of weakening the premium brand image? You've got to evaluate every single recommendation against that luxury brand identity. Because if a new routine breaks the cultural paradigm of exclusivity, it is almost certainly the wrong strategic move for DKK. Which brings us to our final thought. As you get ready to dive into this case, think about this. As DKK updates its routines for the modern era, will it successfully evolve its culture, or will the immense weight of its 40-year legacy ultimately become its greatest threat? It is a fantastic strategic puzzle. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep that cultural web framework top of mind, and best of luck applying all these concepts to DKK. Hey everyone, let's jump right in. If you're gearing up for the ACCA Strategic Business Leader exam this June 2026, we've got something incredibly useful to cover today. We're going to really master the SBL exam by taking the highly effective SDKF framework and applying it directly to the DKK pre-seen case study. Now, we aren't just guessing here. Every single thing we're unpacking today comes directly from the official 31-page X&P Group analysis document. It is honestly a fantastic resource that maps out the top focus areas and exam strategies for the DKK case, which means we are looking at exactly what the examiner is most likely to test you on. So let's dive into the big question, right? Can a 40-year-old premium luxury brand actually survive on paper appointment books? This really hits at the heart of our case study. DKK is the third largest hairdressing chain in K-land. It's a highly successful premium brand with a stellar reputation. But despite that luxury status, it is lagging dangerously behind in a rapidly evolving tech landscape. It's a crazy contrast when you think about it. On one hand, DKK has these absolute strengths: prime salon locations, exclusive partnerships with premium global brands, and highly skilled staff. They are literally the epitome of luxury. But on the other hand, in an era of pure digital convenience, they are still relying on paper-based appointment bookings and manual inventory management. Oh, and zero e-commerce functionality. This right here sets up the core modernization dilemma that you, the candidate, have to solve. So how do we evaluate this? Well, we bring in the heavy hitter, the SAF framework. This is your ultimate evaluator's lens for the SBL exam. SAF stands for suitability, acceptability, and feasibility. Suitability just asks if an option makes strategic sense. Acceptability looks at the impact on stakeholders and the financial return. And feasibility asks the really tough question: do we actually have the resources to pull this off? We are going to use this exact lens to analyze DKK's potential digital transformation. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll look at DKK's modernization dilemma, evaluate it through suitability, acceptability, and feasibility, and then wrap up with your exam strategy. All right, part 1. DKK's modernization dilemma, evolving without losing the luxury identity. How can DKK modernize without damaging its luxury brand positioning? You know, the examiner isn't just testing you on hair salons. They are using DKK as a vehicle to test broader business strategy issues. This quote is the central tension SBL markers want you to address in almost every single exam answer. It's the strategic tightrope you absolutely must walk. Moving on to part 2, suitability, the strategic fit. Really asking, does tech even belong in a high-touch salon? Okay, looking at suitability.
Implementing an online booking app definitely makes sense for the modern consumer. Wealthy clients completely expect smartphone convenience today. Plus, it aligns perfectly with ESG goals by ditching all that paper waste. But, and this brilliantly illustrates the real challenge, the risk you have to mention is the potential loss of that personalized, exclusive touch. Does an automated text message make the experience feel cheaper? That is the strategic trade-off. Next up is Part 3, Acceptability, Stakeholders, and Returns. Will they accept it? And is it worth the cost? When we map out who wins and who loses here, management is definitely popping champagne. Automated systems mean way better scheduling and fewer costly no-shows, which brings a positive financial return. Wealthy customers gain that convenience, though they'll fiercely demand the luxury feel remains. But actually, look at the long-serving staff. DKK has been doing this the same way for 40 years. Forcing a completely new digital system is a massive disruption to their routines, meaning you can expect some seriously heavy resistance to change. Which brings us to Part 4, Feasibility, Implementation, and Resources. Can DKK actually pull this off? 390. That is the number of highly skilled hairdressers currently employed right now across DKK's 50 salons. The XP analysis explicitly points out that the hairdressing industry is facing severe staff shortages. And in a service business, the employees literally are the product. If they're unhappy and service quality falls, the brand falls. So, pushing a tech rollout onto 390 hairdressers without causing mass resignations, that is a massive, massive feasibility hurdle. Let's move to the practical side and see how this builds. To make this feasible, DKK must execute 3 things. First, secure substantial upfront cash for the tech. Second, execute incredibly strong change management and phase training to keep those 390 hairdressers happy. And third, the moment you digitize customer data, you instantly introduce new operational risks, like cybersecurity and data protection. You have to mention these practical realities to grab those feasibility marks. Finally, Part 5, your exam strategy for passing this June 2026 SBL exam. Listen, if you take away nothing else from the XP Group's guidance, remember the so what rule. The marker already knows the case study. Simply stating a fact like DKK uses paper appointment books earns you exactly 0 professional marks. You have to push the point further. Explain the so what to show the strategic impact. Seriously, do not ever leave the marker guessing what you mean. Here is a perfect way to build your extended bullet points. Step 1, state the fact. DKK relies on paper systems. Step 2, the impact. This creates operational inefficiencies like double bookings. Step 3, the consequence. Competitors adopting digital systems gain a convenience advantage. And step 4, the strategic result. DKK risks appearing outdated to modern consumers. When you chain your points together like that, you leave the marker in absolutely no doubt of your deep strategic understanding. It's a total jackpot. Also, keep in mind that SBL markers absolutely love nuanced, balanced thinking. If your answer is just DKK should buy some software, that's way too basic. You have to acknowledge the downsides. A recommendation might improve efficiency, sure, but could it weaken the brand image? Always, always discuss the trade-offs. So, as you head back to your revision and get ready for exam day, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. When the relentless push for modern efficiency inevitably clashes with DKK's 40-year legacy of luxury and exclusivity, which trade-off will you choose to defend in your board report? Think deeply about that, apply the SAF framework, remember the so what rule, and you are going to be perfectly primed to conquer the June 2026 SBL exam. Best of luck out there. Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're bridging the gap between textbook strategy and the actual reality of your ACCA SBL June 2026 pre-scene materials. We're going to do this by taking a classic framework, you probably know it, and Softs matrix, and applying it directly to the business right at the center of your exam, Dennis & Coco Ltd, or as we'll call them, DKK. Now, the core dilemma DKK faces, it's honestly fascinating. I mean, they've been a highly successful, totally premium hairdressing brand for 40 years now. They've got loyal, wealthy customers, incredibly skilled staff, gorgeous, luxurious salon environments, but the industry is changing so rapidly around them, and this puts DKK at a very critical strategic crossroads. So the overarching question you literally need to keep in mind for your exam is this: how exactly can they modernize and grow without totally damaging the very luxury brand positioning that made them so successful in the first place? To solve this, we'll use an essential growth strategy framework to evaluate DKK's options quadrant by quadrant, starting with their strategic crossroads, then hitting market penetration, market development,
product development, the diversification route, and finally wrapping up with strategic evaluation and risks. Let's jump right into part 1, DKK's strategic crossroads. Let's set the stage and look at the specific external pressures that are actively forcing DKK to modernize. So, despite having an excellent reputation and a really wealthy client base that kind of buffers them from standard economic downturns, DKK absolutely is not immune to industry shifts. We're seeing rapid technology changes, right? Competitors are going digital while DKK is literally still using paper booking systems. Plus, there are rising sustainability and ESG expectations from their eco-conscious clients. Social media is totally changing how brands are built today. And crucially, this is a big one, there are severe labor shortages. Remember, in a service business like DKK, those highly skilled hairdressers essentially are the product. Add in the fact that regional chains are increasingly imitating DKK's premium vibe, and well, DKK must evolve to survive. But they have to do it very, very carefully. And this brings us right to Ansoff's matrix. It's honestly the perfect tool to map out exactly how DKK can navigate all these changes. It's a foundational growth strategy framework, and it's used to help businesses evaluate their strategic growth options based on whether they're pushing existing or new products into existing or new markets. This matrix gives us 4 distinct growth paths. Market penetration is definitely the safest bet. That's dealing with existing products and existing markets. Then we move into slightly riskier territory with market development and product development. And finally, we hit the highest risk quadrant, diversification, where literally everything is new. Let's break this down and apply each of these directly to DKK. Section 2, market penetration. Our first quadrant is all about maximizing returns from DKK's current wealthy client base using the premium services they already offer. A really crucial point to zero in on here is retail sales. DKK's retail sales of premium products have historically sat above 6% of their total revenue. Now, why does that matter? Because product margins are generally way higher than service margins. This makes that 6% a critical baseline KPI. If that number starts to slip, it's a huge red flag. It might indicate weakening product performance or changing customer behavior. Pushing that number up through better in-salon marketing, that's a classic textbook market penetration move. To really penetrate the market further, DKK needs to double down on a few key tactics. They need to increase customer loyalty, and they definitely need to boost appointment frequency. But here's the catch. Since there are incredibly strong personal relationships between the clients and the hairdressers, enhancing client retention means they absolutely must focus on staff retention too. Think about it. If a highly skilled, really popular hairdresser leaves, they almost always take their wealthy clients right out the door with them. So leveraging and fiercely protecting those highly skilled staff relationships, that is the absolute bedrock of market penetration for DKK.
Moving on to Section 3, market development. This is where we take the established DKK salon model and move it into entirely new areas. So this growth path would basically see DKK opening brand new physical salons in new towns or regions across their country, Kayland. Now, DKK has successfully grown through organic expansion and acquisitions in the past, right? Doing this even further would definitely increase overall brand visibility, help them gain some economies of scale, and obviously capture a much larger market share. But hey, remember the so what rule for your exam? If you just write down DKK should expand, you are not going to score well. You have to explain the actual impact. Rapid expansion creates an immense risk of diluting the consistency and those premium standards that literally define the DKK brand. Maintaining that excellent rating across all salons is strategically critical. Furthermore, and going back to those severe industry staff shortages we just talked about, recruiting enough skilled hairdressers for all these new locations, that could quickly become a massive operational bottleneck. Let's slide over to Section 4, product development. For DKK, this isn't necessarily about inventing some wild new type of haircut. It focuses heavily on modernizing how they deliver their services and what supplementary offerings they can provide to their existing clients. Digital transformation is, without a doubt, one of the most heavily signaled themes in your pre-scene materials. Right now, DKK is leaning on totally outdated paper booking systems and manual inventory management. I mean, we're talking double bookings and major administrative delays. Not very luxury, right? Moving forward, the proposed shift to online services, like online booking, SMS reminders, an actual customer relationship management system, and introducing new eco-friendly sustainable product lines, well, that is classic product development. It's all about offering new, modernized systems to their existing, wealthy clientele.
But wait, there is a very crucial strategic tension to navigate here. Yes, wealthy customers increasingly expect digital convenience, like, just booking an appointment on an app. But the absolute critical trade-off you need to highlight in your exam is ensuring that introducing this digital automation doesn't make the customer experience feel any less exclusive or personalized. If this digital transformation feels cheap or just generic, it completely damages that 40-year luxury brand. Any new product, whether it's a piece of booking software or a brand new sustainable shampoo, has to perfectly align with their premium positioning. And that brings us to Section 5, the diversification route. This is the fourth and definitely the highest risk quadrant of Ansof's matrix.
This strategy means DKK would be entering completely new markets with totally new offerings. We aren't just talking about opening another salon down the street. We are talking about massive leaps, like launching a full-scale national e-commerce platform for haircare products, or maybe even expanding their physical footprint into comprehensive, high-end beauty and spa service centers. It's a whole new ballgame.
But consider this really harsh reality. Because diversification pushes DKK the furthest away from its core competency, which is hairdressing, it carries a massive amount of risk. Poorly managed expansion could easily stretch operational control, totally distract centralized management, and ultimately weaken that premium customer experience that differentiates DKK from competitors. Think about it. If they launch a spa and the service is only average, that average rating bleeds right back into the perception of their core hairdressing business. It's super high reward, but incredibly high risk.
Finally, let's look at Section 6, Strategic Evaluation and Risks. Because in the ACCA SBL exam, markers don't just want a theoretical list of models. They want to see a balanced, integrated evaluation. Literally every single growth strategy we just went through from the Ansoff matrix has to be rigorously evaluated against a checklist. If you decide to recommend an online booking system, you have to ask yourself, are there implementation challenges? Well, yeah. Long-serving staff might strongly resist the technological change, which means you'll need serious change management. What are the operational risks? You've got cybersecurity and the data protection of high-net-worth clients' personal information to worry about. What is the stakeholder impact? Will the new suppliers of those sustainable products actually uphold DKK's exclusive standards? You always have to balance the potential efficiency gains against the very real costs and risks. So as you sit down to prepare your briefing papers, your memos, and those board reports for the exam, I want you to leave the examiner in absolute no doubt. You need to constantly ask yourself this one final question. Does this strategy actually fit the brand? Whether it's market penetration, a digital product development push, or opening a brand new salon, if it dilutes that 40-year legacy of luxury, it's a strategic failure. Keep that premium positioning at the very forefront of your mind, and I promise you're going to do brilliantly. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I'm going to leave you with this one thought. If you're advising the DKK board tomorrow, which Ansoff quadrant would you bet their 40-year legacy on?
Welcome back to the Explainer, SBL candidates. Let's just jump right in today. We are going to do a highly structured breakdown of the DKK pre-scene case, and we're using the COSO ERM framework to give you that perfect plug-and-play mental model for your exam. If you want to understand exactly what the examiner is looking for when they test risk management, you are absolutely in the right place. Right now, DKK is sitting at a massive strategic crossroads. They are facing this huge tension between protecting their 40-year legacy of luxury service and having to fix some pretty severe systemic risks, like paper bookings and ongoing staff shortages. Think about it for a second. They have this incredibly successful model catering to loyal, wealthy clients, right? But they're operating in an industry that is modernizing at lightning speed. So how do you balance that? How do you evolve your systems without losing the sheer exclusivity that built your brand in the first place? To figure this out, we're going to apply the COSO Enterprise Risk Management Framework. Now, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's a highly practical tool that helps organizations proactively manage uncertainty while actually improving their resilience. It essentially forces management to stop looking at risk as a separate, annoying compliance exercise and start treating it as something deeply integrated into their strategy and daily performance. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll quickly hit 1, governance and culture. 2, strategy and objective setting. 3, performance. 4, review and revision. And finally 5, information, communication, and reporting. Let's start with Pillar 1, governance and culture, specifically looking at board and oversight. There is a really fascinating trade-off happening here. DKK actually has remarkably strong corporate governance for a privately owned company. They have this formalized board structure that broadly aligns with good governance principles. But there is a glaring blind spot. The total absence of audit and remuneration committees seriously weakens their risk oversight. Look, when you don't have an independent audit committee stress testing your internal controls, especially in a business that desperately needs operational modernization, risks are going to slip through the cracks. It's almost guaranteed.
Moving right along to Pillar 2, strategy and objective setting, focusing on their premium positioning.
You see, DKK's entire strategy is built from the ground up on premium differentiation. They compete on having prime salon locations, gorgeous, luxurious environments, and highly qualified hairdressers. They do not compete on price. What that means is every single risk management decision has to prioritize protecting that brand reputation and service quality above literally everything else. If a cost-cutting measure or even a new piece of technology threatens that feeling of exclusivity, well, it threatens the very core of DKK's business model.
Next up is Pillar 3, performance, and how they go about managing those strategic risks.
So the crucial question is, how does DKK measure the threats to that premium strategy? This perfectly illustrates their formal risk register, showing how they categorize these massive operational threats. Notice the combination of high likelihood and high impact for things like staff shortages and technology lag. In a service business, your employees literally are the product. If you don't have skilled staff, your luxury service completely falls apart. And that technology lag, that is the constant, heavy pressure of rival salons innovating, while DKK basically just stands still. And looking closer here, critically, the impact of reputation damage is flagged as very high. It might have a medium likelihood, sure, but a very high impact means any failure in that premium experience could permanently cripple the brand, whether it's a health and safety issue or just poor service going viral on social media. Wealthy clients have incredibly high expectations, and trust, once it's lost, is almost impossible to win back.
That brings us to Pillar 4, review and revision, which is all about adapting to change.
Because let's be real, risk management is never a static set-it-and-forget-it exercise. The hairdressing industry is evolving rapidly. Now, DKK has relied on these traditional, tried-and-true methods for 40 years, and it worked. It made them the third largest chain in K-land. But they absolutely must continually review their mitigation strategies to adapt. We are seeing a major shift toward eco-conscious clients, demanding sustainable chemical and water usage, coupled with these tech-savvy competitors using social media and augmented reality. DKK just can't afford to ignore this. They have to review and revise to stay relevant. Finally, we hit Pillar 5, information, communication, and reporting. And oh boy, let's talk about their digital weaknesses. We aren't just bringing up information for the sake of the framework. We are pointing out that DKK's reliance on paper appointment books and manual inventory is a massive information failure. It's causing severe operational inefficiencies across the board. We are talking about double bookings, endless admin delays, and a total lack of any e-commerce capability. In today's business landscape, paper systems don't just slow a company down, they completely blindfold the management team. This really proves the so what rule that is just so vital for your exam. You can't just state that they use paper and move on. You have to ask, so what? Well, the answer is that without digital reporting, management lacks the integrated systems they actually need to monitor the risks we just talked about. How do you accurately track client retention? How do you optimize your scheduling to fight those staff shortages? You simply cannot do it efficiently with a pencil and a ledger. Upgrading these systems isn't just some random IT project. It's a fundamental requirement for effective enterprise risk management. So as you wrap up your exam prep, I want you to ask yourself this ultimate SBL marker question. How do you digitize and upgrade DKK's framework without losing that personalized, exclusive touch that built the brand? Could too much automation make the salon feel, cheap? Or does a clunky paper booking system already make them look completely outdated to modern, wealthy consumers? Chew on those trade-offs, apply this COSO framework we just went through, and you will be perfectly positioned to tackle this case. Keep at it, and good luck with your exam.
All right, let's dive straight into this explainer. If you're gearing up for the ACCA SBL exam in June 2026, you absolutely need to grasp the immense pressures Denise and Coco Limited, or DKK, are under. Today, we're going to use Porter's 5 forces to map out DKK's strategic battlefield. We've got a clear roadmap for today.
we'll be looking at DKK's premium market position, the rivals and new entrants, the power of buyers and suppliers, the threat of substitutes, and finally, some key strategic takeaways. Now, before we get into the weeds, let's quickly recenter on what Porter's 5 Forces is actually doing for us here. Ultimately, it's designed to tell us just how attractive and profitable DKK's industry truly is. It maps out exactly where the power lies. The stronger these 5 forces are, the lower the overall profitability of the industry. Which brings us to the big million-dollar strategic question, right? How well can DKK's current business model actually withstand attacks from all sides? I mean, they're sitting on a massive, highly successful 40-year legacy, but the industry environment around them is shifting at breakneck speed. So let's start with part 1, DKK's premium market position. To really understand the threats out there, we first have to understand what DKK is actually protecting. Look, DKK doesn't compete on price. Not at all. Their fortress walls are built entirely on luxury, absolute exclusivity, and this incredibly exceptional personal service. The pre-seen materials clearly split the market into 3 tiers: basic, good, and excellent. While rivals like Trims fight it out in the basic segment and Halo Hair sits in the good segment, DKK operates fiercely in that excellent segment. It's their highly skilled staff in gorgeous salon environments that act as their main shield against things like economic downturns and general market volatility. Moving right along to part 2, rivals and new entrants. Now, this is where things get spicy. The barriers to entry in the hairdressing industry are frankly incredibly low. It takes hardly any capital to start up an independent salon, which makes competitive rivalry exceptionally high. You've got regional chains and fresh startups popping up constantly, all trying to mimic bits and pieces of DKK's premium vibe. But here's the absolute crucial point for your exam strategy. There is an industry-wide shortage of highly skilled hairdressers. So the fight isn't just for clients, it's a literal tug of war for talent. Because entry is so cheap and local rivals are literally everywhere, DKK's unique market share is constantly at risk of eroding if they let that top-tier excellent standard slip even a little. Okay, let's hit part 3, the power of buyers. Let's talk about the people actually funding this fortress. Buyer power here sits at a moderate to high level. On one hand, DKK's defense is fantastic. Their wealthy clientele is super loyal, they aren't overly price sensitive, and they deeply value the relationship with their specific stylist. I mean, in a service business like this, the employee basically is the product, right? But the threat is still massive. These clients have a ton of alternative local salons they could easily just walk right into. Switching costs are functionally zero. Because of that, DKK literally cannot afford a single slip-up. If the experience drops from excellent down to just good, the buyers hold all the power to just walk away. Next up, part 4, the power of suppliers. This brings us to a fascinating double-edged sword in DKK's strategy. To keep that premium image intact, they rely heavily on 2 major exclusivity contracts for their global hair care products and styling tools. Sure, this creates incredible brand differentiation. You can only get these products at DKK in the K-line market. But wow, does it hand over a massive amount of negotiating power straight to those suppliers. Just think about the risks here. If these exclusive global suppliers decide, hey, we're hiking our prices, or if they suffer a sudden operational disruption, or worse, terminate the contract altogether, DKK's profitability and service continuity take an immediate, direct hit. They simply do not have the leverage to play hardball with massive global entities. Plus, you've got brand concentration risk. If a supplier gets caught in a reputational scandal, DKK's luxury image gets dragged right down into the mud by association. All right, on to part 5, the threat of substitutes. Right now, the threat of substitutes is rated as moderate, but make no mistake, these are creeping threats. We're talking high-quality DIY hair care products, a massive explosion in online styling tutorials, and even emerging tech like augmented reality hairstyle previews. It perfectly highlights how changing consumer habits and easily accessible digital tools are offering an increasingly viable, cheaper alternative to a premium, high-touch salon visit. DKK absolutely has to make sure their in-person experience remains something you just cannot replicate at home. Finally, let's pull it all together with part 6, strategic takeaways for DKK. When we step back and look at the whole board, the biggest takeaway for you is that DKK's survival against these 5 forces relies entirely on its differentiation. Their competitive advantage isn't cost, it is perceived value. Their defense relies on never, ever compromising those excellent segment standards. Whether they're facing supplier price hikes or a flashy new salon opening across the street, their response must always prioritize protecting that luxury reputation, retaining their highly skilled staff, and delivering an absolutely flawless customer experience.
And that leaves us with a final, really critical thought for your exam prep. DKK is under massive pressure to modernize. I mean, they're still relying on paper booking systems, manual inventory, and they're facing new sustainability expectations from younger clients. So as you're writing your SBL answers, keep asking yourself, how does DKK adopt new tech, manage sustainability, and fight off these 5 aggressive forces without losing that exclusive traditional magic that built their fortress in the first place? Nailing that balance between modernization and luxury preservation, that is exactly where the exam marks are going to be won. Keep that in mind, study hard, and we'll catch you in the next explainer.
Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to put on our strategic consultant hats and dissect a classic business scenario to help you prep for your SBL exam. We'll be applying the Balanced Scorecard Framework to Dennis & Coco Limited, or as we'll call them, DKK. Honestly, it's just a brilliant way to map out the strategic health of a really complex organization. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's set the ultimate stakes here. Picture this. DKK is a 40-year-old premium hairdressing chain. They operate 50 highly successful salons, but right now they're standing at a massive strategic crossroads. The core question we're tackling today is this: how on earth does a business that relies heavily on traditional, highly personalized service evolve its tech and sustainability practices without losing that exclusive luxury feel? It is a huge challenge. To figure that out, we're going to structure our analysis using the Balanced Scorecard. We'll hit 4 critical perspectives: financial, customer, internal processes and tech, and finally, learning, growth, and HR. This makes sure we aren't just staring at the money, but actually looking at the operational drivers behind it. Section 1, the financial perspective, balancing growth and costs. Let's take a look at the hard numbers behind DKK's premium positioning. So check out this 6% figure. Historically, retail sales of exclusive products have exceeded 6% of DKK's total revenue. You see, DKK has these amazing exclusive contracts to be the only seller of certain premium haircare products and styling tools in K-Land. It's a sweet deal. But recently, this high-margin KPI has weakened slightly. Now, as an SBL student, you've got to spot that right away. Since retail margins are significantly higher than service margins, even a tiny dip here is a major red flag for profitability.
And that sets up a pretty precarious financial trade-off. On one hand, we're seeing some real strengths. They've got steady revenue growth and increasing operating profit margins, mostly driven by a wealthy customer base that makes them practically bulletproof during economic downturns. But, and it's a big but, total operational costs are creeping up. Think about it. Salons consume a massive amount of water and electricity, right? So they are highly vulnerable to volatile energy costs. The pressure on their bottom line is absolutely real.
Moving on to Section 2, the customer perspective, protecting the premium brand. This quadrant is, without a doubt, the absolute lifeblood of DKK's competitive advantage.
You've really got to remember that DKK isn't just your average hairdressing business. They operate in the excellent market segment. They literally do not compete on price. They compete entirely on delivering an exceptional, luxurious experience. What does that mean for us? Well, it means any operational change, like a new booking system or sustainability initiative, has to perfectly align with the expectations of a very wealthy clientele. If a change tarnishes that luxury reputation, it damages the entire business. No exceptions.
So the crucial takeaway here is that DKK's currently improving client retention rate doesn't happen by magic. It's driven directly by very specific, highly personalized luxury touchpoints. We're talking free pre-appointment consultations the second a client walks in. We're talking gorgeous, luxurious salon environments and consistent, excellent HSA ratings across all 50 locations. Every single detail matters. Retaining those loyal, wealthy clients is exactly what guarantees that steady revenue we just talked about in the financial perspective.
All right, Section 3, internal processes and tech, the modernization gap. Turning our analytical deep dive to this third quadrant, we actually find DKK's most glaring vulnerabilities. Despite having this incredible premium brand, DKK relies heavily on some seriously outdated manual processes. We're literally talking about paper-based appointment books and manual inventory management. In today's world, contrast that with the industry standard right now. Their competitors are using slick salon management software, online booking, digital CRM, and even augmented reality hairstyle previews.
Meanwhile, DKK's manual processes are causing messy double bookings and annoying admin delays. They are seriously risking looking completely out of touch to modern consumers who just expect seamless digital convenience. Now, this simple flow shows how investing in a digital booking system could directly solve those messy internal inefficiencies. Think about it. You implement online booking and a solid CRM, which then lets you send automated SMS appointment reminders. That directly cuts down on those super expensive client no-shows. Ultimately, you end up with better appointment utilization and higher revenue. It sounds like a no-brainer, right? But remember, for a 40-year-old company built on paper and personal touches, pulling this off requires some massive change management. The digital interface has to feel just as premium as their legendary in-person welcome. Finally, Section 4, Learning, Growth, and HR, the core asset. This quadrant is incredibly vital. In a premium service business like DKK, the highly skilled employees essentially are the product. If service quality slips, the whole brand slips with it. So we absolutely have to talk about CPD, continuing professional development. At DKK, CPD is not just some boring HR checkbox to file away, it's a massive strategic necessity. I mean, they employ 390 hairdressers and 155 assistants. That requires a huge ongoing investment in training. This continuous development is non-negotiable if they want to maintain their industry recognition and guarantee that every single haircut in every single salon hits that flawless luxury standard. Right now, there are severe staff shortages threatening the entire hairdressing industry, so DKK has got to tackle its HR challenges head-on. Look, when your high-performing hairdressers are tempted to just up and leave to open their own independent salons, you need rock-solid retention strategies. We're talking clear internal promotion pathways and offering really lucrative retail sales commissions, which, by the way, directly boosts that 6% KPI we talked about earlier. They also need to look at granting more autonomy to local salon managers so they actually feel trusted and engaged. The ultimate goal here is to keep staff satisfaction high so they hold on to their absolute best talent. As you prep for your exam, I want to leave you with a classic SBL trade-off to chew on. If DKK pushes too far into automation and digital efficiency to fix their operational bottlenecks, do they run the risk of destroying the highly personalized luxury heritage that put them on the map in the first place? I mean, can an automated text message ever really feel as exclusive as a personal phone call? Think about how you would balance that tension in the boardroom. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep digging into those strategic layers.
Hey everyone, let's dive right into this explainer and totally deconstruct Denise & Coco Ltd's business model for your upcoming ACCA SBL exam using Porter's value chain. We are going to look way beyond just the basic facts and figures of this KLAN-based hairdressing chain and really get into the nitty-gritty mechanics of how they operate. Because remember, in SBL, you absolutely need to understand the how and why of a business if you want to score those high marks. We have 4 main areas on the agenda today. 1. The modernization dilemma. 2. Primary activities, creating luxury. 3. Support activities, the foundation. And 4. Strategic tensions.
All right, let's jump into Section 1, the modernization dilemma.
Before we even touch the links in this value chain, we have to establish the core tension running through this entire scenario. How on earth can DKK modernize without totally wrecking its luxury brand? This is the lens through which you must view every single operation. I mean, how does a 40-year-old premium brand step into the digital age without losing its exclusive soul? As the source material points out, DKK isn't just cutting hair, right? It's a premium luxury brand with a deeply loyal, very wealthy customer base. They compete on delivering an excellent experience, not on cutting prices. So every time you think about recommending an efficiency improvement in your exam, you have to stop and ask yourself, wait, does this ruin the luxury feel?
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, primary activities, creating luxury.
Let's see how DKK physically builds this premium experience, starting right at the front door with inbound logistics. Their luxury vibe starts with exclusive global supply contracts for premium products and styling tools, and they even import their salon materials and uniforms. But, and it's a big but, while this creates amazing differentiation, literally making them the only sellers of these specific products in KLAN, it also creates a really dangerous level of supplier dependence. Think about it. If those massive global suppliers hike up prices or face sudden shortages, DKK's operational continuity and premium positioning are instantly at risk.
Now, looking at operations, these are just random haircuts. These are meticulously crafted steps. They deliver this highly consistent, seriously luxurious customer journey across all 50 of their prime location salons. It all kicks off with free pre-appointment consultations and patch testing, smoothly moves into a premium welcome by dedicated receptionists, and wraps up with a totally customized luxury service delivered by exceptionally skilled hairdressers. Consistency across all locations isn't just a goal, it's absolutely their hallmark. When it comes to outbound logistics, we're not talking about shipping boxes from some giant warehouse. It's primarily service-based delivery right there in the salon chair. However, it does include high-margin retail product sales physically within the salon, which historically have accounted for over 6% of their revenue. But wow, this brings us to a massive, glaring gap in their outbound logistics. They have absolutely zero e-commerce, no online sales functionality whatsoever.
And that brilliantly highlights the huge tension in marketing and sales. They're leaning incredibly hard on a stellar luxury reputation, but their glaring lack of social media investment means they risk losing serious ground to savvier, more modern competitors. You know, the hairdressing industry is highly visual. Competitors are out there using social media platforms effectively to show off hairstyles and pull in a younger audience. DKK's limited digital presence is actually flagged as a key risk in their own risk register. Basically, they're banking on traditional brand loyalty in a world that's gone completely digital.
Finally, wrapping up the primary activities with service, DKK totally excels at personalized aftercare. And what does that do? It results in incredibly high client retention, which acts as a massive shield against economic downturns, way better than what their cheaper rivals have. This high retention rate is a vital key performance indicator, or KPI, for them. It's the ultimate proof that their luxury experience is actually working and keeping those wealthy clients coming back time and time again.
Let's pivot to Section 3, Support Activities, the Foundation.
Now, let's take a peek behind the scenes at the infrastructure holding this entire primary experience together. Just look at these numbers. In a service business, the employees literally are the product. That means human resources is arguably their single most critical support activity. Out of their whole workforce, 390 are hairdressers. If the quality of those 390 hairdressers slips even a little, the entire DKK brand takes a hit.
And they are facing some real headwinds here. Severe industry-wide staff shortages, where experienced stylists just up and leave to set up their own independent salons. So how does DKK fight back? They heavily support their staff. They offer really strong continuous professional development, or CPD opportunities, along with clear internal promotion pathways to prevent those talented hairdressers from walking out the door. And it seems to be working, as their staff satisfaction KPIs are steadily ticking upward. But make no mistake, they absolutely must maintain this culture to survive.
Now here is where things get really interesting. Check out this glaring weakness in their technology development support activity. Despite their premium brand and 40 years of wild success, they are still heavily relying on manual inventory processes and literal paper appointment books.
For your exam, you really need to apply the so what factor here. Paper systems don't just mean they're missing out on cool software. They create massive operational inefficiencies. We're talking double bookings, high levels of no-shows, and annoying admin delays. Contrast that with digital systems offering slick online booking, SMS reminders, and ultimate customer convenience. By stubbornly sticking to paper, DKK runs the very real risk of appearing completely outdated to their modern, wealthy clients who just expect seamless digital interaction.
Rounding out the support activities, their firm infrastructure provides really strong central governance straight from head office. They operate a highly centralized structure with tight regional control over the salons, and that's what maintains that all-important brand consistency. Meanwhile, procurement uses that massive centralized purchasing power to lock down those vital exclusive supplier contracts we talked about earlier, ensuring every single salon gets the exact same premium materials.
All right, final part. Section 4, Strategic Tensions. So here's the absolute crucial point. How do we actually tie this entire value chain analysis into a high-scoring exam strategy? Well, when you're recommending digital upgrades or maybe sustainability initiatives to DKK's value chain, you absolutely must evaluate the trade-offs. You have to make sure you aren't accidentally destroying their premium brand positioning. It's never just about telling them to buy new software. You have to analyze the upfront costs, the nasty cybersecurity risks, the training needed, and the almost guaranteed resistance from long-serving employees who love their old paper methods.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought as you dive back into your revision.
If DKK fully digitizes its value chain to improve efficiency, do they risk losing the exclusive, personalized touch that makes them a premium brand in the first place? Can automation and luxury truly coexist for DKK? As you're writing up your mock board reports and strategic evaluations, keep this tension at the absolute front of your mind. Balancing efficient, modern operations with that high-touch, exclusive, premium feel, that is exactly what the SBL markers are going to be hunting for. Good luck with your exam preparation.
Welcome, stressed ACCA SBL candidates. Okay, take a deep breath. I know you're gearing up for the June 2026 exam and you've got a lot on your plate, but you are definitely in the right place. In this explainer, we're going to set a super energetic, empowering tone to conquer the Denizen Cocoa Limited, or DKK, pre-scene case study. We're going to take those dense pages of text and transform them into a crystal clear strategic map so you can walk into that exam room with total confidence. Let's do this.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for mapping DKK's survival strategy. We'll quickly start with DKK's strategic crossroads, move right through the 4 quadrants of Mendelow's matrix, and wrap up with the all-important exam strategy.
Section 1. DKK's Strategic Crossroads, Modernization versus Heritage.
So think about it. DKK is this highly successful premium brand, right? 50 salons. But beneath the surface, they are literally bleeding efficiencies. So the ultimate hope for you guys going into this exam is this. How exactly does a 40-year-old luxury brand modernize without completely losing its soul? It's not just about, buying some new tech. Any strategic change DKK makes is going to impact different stakeholder groups in vastly different ways. It's really about managing the actual people who make or break that luxury experience.
I mean, just look at the reality of their operations right now. We've got a massive technology lag. They're actually still using paper booking systems in 2026. No way, right? Who does that? It's a total admin nightmare causing crazy double bookings. Add to that the huge sustainability pressures from high water, electricity, and chemical waste. And then factor in a severe industry-wide staff shortage. If DKK changes too fast to fix all this, they risk completely alienating their wealthy, premium clients. And this right here is exactly why stakeholder management is suddenly their absolute most critical survival tool.
To figure all this out, we bring in Mendelow's matrix. Officially, it's a stakeholder mapping tool based on power and interest. But hey, for your SBL exam, please don't just treat this as some rote academic theory. This matrix is quite literally a survival map for DKK's management team. It tells them exactly who to prioritize when rolling out these massive modernizations.
And this brilliantly illustrates your cheat sheet. It's the holistic 2x2 grid overview. You can see exactly how the stakeholders fall into 4 distinct buckets based on whether their power and interest are high or low. We're going to zoom into the specific details of each of these boxes right now because, and listen closely, your exam marks completely rely on understanding exactly why a stakeholder sits in a specific box and, more importantly, how DKK needs to treat them.
Section 2. High power, high interest. The key players.
All right, these are the heavy hitters. The folks who have the ability to absolutely champion DKK's modernization, or, honestly, completely derail it. We're talking about the shareholders, the board, and DKK's major suppliers. Since they possess both high power and high interest, DKK's management absolutely must proactively engage with them and ensure total strategic alignment before making any major moves.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the crazy contrast between internal and external power. Internally, sure, the board and shareholders hold power over the strategic direction. They are the ones driving that premium differentiation. But externally, wow, those major suppliers hold immense power over DKK's luxury status because of exclusivity contracts. Think about it. DKK relies heavily on just 2 major suppliers for their premium products and styling tools. If those suppliers suddenly raise prices or pull the plug on those contracts, poof, DKK's luxury differentiation completely vanishes.
Section 3. High power, low interest. Keep satisfied.
Moving on to the external entities, DKK literally has to keep satisfied just to keep their doors open. The rule makers. I'm talking about the government and regulators. Now, generally speaking, they don't really care about DKK's day-to-day salon operations. They have low interest there, but they hold incredibly high power. They can literally shut the whole business down entirely if DKK steps out of line.
And here is a massive piece of advice for you. In your exam, do not just list the word regulators and move on. You've got to prove why they have power using specific details from the pre-scene. For DKK, that means strict employment legislation, heavy health and safety compliance, data protection rules for their client lists, and those very specific patch testing obligations for hair chemicals. Keeping these guys satisfied means rigorous compliance so you completely mitigate any reputational risk.
Section 4. Low power, high interest. Keep informed.
Okay, we are hitting the most exam-critical paradox in the entire case study. Formal textbook theory lumps staff, clients, and the NHU into the low power bucket. But let's actually think about this. Clients might have low individual power, sure, but collectively, they have a massive interest in that luxury experience. And the staff? Well, in a premium service business like DKK, highly skilled hairdressers aren't just employees, they literally are the product. So the crucial point is, if service quality drops during this industry-wide staff shortage, the whole brand collapses. You've got to keep them deeply informed and motivated, or you lose the business entirely.
Section 5. Low power, low interest, minimal effort.
All right, the traditional textbook strategy for this quadrant is minimal effort. It's the periphery, the wider communities where DKK salons are actually located. Now, a totally average student might just write that this group requires minimal effort and skip to the next part. But you're a modern SBL candidate, and you know we need to look way deeper into integrated thinking.
Let's connect the dots here. Wider communities care deeply about sustainability, and the pre-scene specifically highlights DKK's crazy high water and electricity usage, plus their substantial chemical waste, right alongside a growing consumer demand for eco-friendly practices. If DKK just ignores these environmental impacts, well, that wider community's interest and power will drastically increase, and bam, they shift straight out of minimal effort and become a major high-priority reputational threat.
Section 6. The So What exam strategy.
So we've mapped out the whole matrix, but how do you actually apply this on test day to grab those high professional marks? Keep this in your head. In SBL, those trade-offs absolutely matter. Let's say you recommend some operational efficiency, like, a fully automated, faceless booking system. Sure, it pleases the shareholders because it cuts costs. But what if it completely alienates your premium clients who expect a really personalized luxury welcome? Well, that is a failed strategy. Every single decision you recommend has to align perfectly with DKK's premium brand positioning. So my final question to you is this. Are you just going to list stakeholders in your exam like a textbook, or are you actually going to map out the strategy? Remember, DKK is at a major crossroads. They absolutely have to modernize those archaic paper systems, and they have to fix their sustainability issues. But they cannot lose their luxury exclusivity or their amazing staff in the process. Use Mendelow's matrix not as a list, but as your strategic compass to navigate those trade-offs. Go in there, apply these insights brilliantly, and totally crush that exam.
Right, let's jump straight into this explainer for the ACCA SBL June 2026 pre-scene document. Today, we're taking a really deep dive into Dennis & Coco Ltd, or DKK for short. If you're gearing up for this exam, you already know how absolutely crucial it is to peel back the layers and understand the real underlying themes of this pre-scene. So let's break this all down visually. We're going to uncover exactly what the examiner is hunting for so you can walk into that exam room feeling totally confident.
There's a fantastic insight here from the XP group that literally sets the stage for everything we're about to talk about. We have to look past the salon chairs, forget the hair products for a second, and really see the broader strategic tests going on here. The examiner isn't testing your knowledge of a good haircut, right? They're testing your ability to navigate classic strategic business leader territory, and they're just using DKK as the vehicle to do it.
To really wrap our heads around DKK's world, get a load of this staggering industry stat. 99%. Yep, 99% of businesses in the Calland hairdressing market are small, independent salons. That makes this industry wildly fragmented, fiercely competitive, and honestly, it has incredibly low barriers to entry. It's a tough, tough environment. But, as you'll see, DKK has managed to carve out a very specific and highly successful niche right in the middle of it.
Today, we're slicing through this dense 31-page beast of a document in 5 quick steps. 1. DKK's strategic crossroads. 2. The core luxury dilemma. 3. Tier 1 big themes. 4. Supporting risks and governance. And 5. Acing the June exam. Let's get into it.
Section 1. DKK's strategic crossroads. It's a premium brand facing an evolving industry. We really need to establish their exact starting position before we can even think about recommending strategic changes.
So, looking closely at DKK, they aren't your run-of-the-mill high street salon. Not at all. They have an excellent reputation, a fiercely loyal base of wealthy customers, highly skilled staff, and these really exclusive supplier relationships. They are the definition of a premium brand, but they're hitting a critical strategic crossroads. The whole industry around them is shifting rapidly. We're talking new technology, soaring sustainability expectations, and severe labor shortages. DKK has to figure out how to survive and thrive in this shifting landscape.
Which leads us right into Section 2, the core luxury dilemma, traditional excellence versus modern expectations. This is the central tension of the entire case study, guys. It's the one theme connecting almost everything in the pre-scene. Talk about a massive contradiction, right? On one side, you've got this ultra-exclusive, high-end brand reputation built entirely on personalized luxury. But then, peek behind the curtain on the right side and, wow, that premium experience is being heavily dragged down by some incredibly outdated manual back-office systems. I mean, they are literally still relying on paper appointment books and manual inventory. No online booking, no e-commerce. In today's digital age, that is a glaring strategic weakness.
So, here is the million-dollar question, the one you've got to keep in the back of your mind for literally every single exam requirement. How on earth can DKK fix these inefficiencies without destroying their luxury feel? How do they evolve without losing the magic that made them so successful for the last 40 years? Every single recommendation you make needs to be carefully filtered through this exact lens.
Moving to Section 3, Tier 1, the big themes. These are your absolute highest priority areas for revision. Let's break down the blueprint of what the examiner is most likely to throw at you.
Based on the XP Group's top 10 focus areas, digital transformation is screaming out as the strongest likely exam theme. And why is that? Well, the examiner repeatedly, and I mean repeatedly, mentions those paper booking systems, the total lack of e-commerce, and their weak social media presence. In SBL, when the examiner repeats a glaring weakness that often, you sit up and pay attention. But remember, they aren't just going to ask if DKK should buy some basic software. That's too easy.
You have to be ready to discuss the strategic implementation of these digital systems. That means weighing the operational efficiency upgrades against the real risks. Think cybersecurity, data protection, and honestly, the biggest hurdle, staff resistance and training. But tech isn't their only mountain to climb. Right alongside digital, sustainability and ESG are massive focus areas here. The pre-scene gives us surprising amounts of detail on their waste, water usage, the chemicals they use, and their eco-conscious customer base. This isn't just a box-ticking exercise to look green. It's about fundamentally integrating sustainability into their corporate strategy.
And here is where you really start racking up those high marks, because SBL markers absolutely love a balanced discussion. For ESG, ask yourself, would wealthy customers actually value ethical sourcing? Yes, it could definitely strengthen the brand. But what's the operational cost? And circling back to digital, sure, an online booking app is super convenient, but could too much automation chip away at that highly personalized VIP feel that DKK clients are paying top dollar for? You have to constantly weigh the benefits of modernizing against the risk of losing that personal touch.
Still hanging out in our Tier 1 themes, HR and retention are just absolutely paramount. The whole hairdressing industry is facing a severe staff shortage right now. And remember, in a purely service-based business like DKK, those highly skilled employees essentially are the product. If the service quality drops, the brand crashes. Simple as that. You've got to look at motivation, reward systems, and career paths. And tying this whole package together is strategic change management. How do you guide a successful 40-year-old business through this necessary modernization, while handling stakeholder pushback and balancing bold innovation with their rich heritage? It's a tightrope walk.
Okay, Section 4, supporting risks and governance, the crucial nuances of Tiers 2 and 3. These might not be your massive standalone questions, but they will absolutely be woven into wider exam requirements.
A massive clue the examiner gave us here is risk management. The fact that they explicitly dropped a formal risk register into the pre-scene, yeah, that means you need to be super comfortable discussing strategic versus operational risks and weighing likelihood against impact. Also keep CRM and customer experience on your radar. How do they digitize client loyalty without losing that feeling of exclusivity? And definitely keep a close eye on supplier risk. DKK leans heavily on exclusivity contracts for their high-end products. What happens if that supply chain snaps?
Now here's a super interesting little nugget about their governance. The pre-scene gives us way more governance context than usual. DKK actually has a formalized board, which is a great start. But catch this, they currently have 0 audit or remuneration committees. None. That is a pretty significant governance weakness you might be asked to address. And you should also be ready to poke holes in their KPIs. Are they even tracking the right metrics to support a premium differentiation strategy?
Finally, Section 5, Acing the June exam, execution and exam technique. Because knowing all this theory is only half the battle, right? Execution is where you actually earn the pass.
You absolutely have to snag those easy professional skills and presentation marks. The exam is very likely going to ask you to produce a specific type of document, maybe a board report, a strategic memo, or a briefing paper. If the scenario asks for a memo, make sure your formatting looks exactly like a memo. Don't throw away free marks on sloppy formatting when you already know the content.
This right here is a real game changer. It's a brilliant framework to ensure your answers actually score points. The anatomy of what the XP Group calls a jackpot extended bullet point. Don't just state a fact and drop the mic. Step 1, state the fact. Okay, DKK relies on paper booking. Step 2, pinpoint the inefficiency. This creates double bookings and admin delays. Step 3, hit them with the so what by linking it directly to a strategic risk, saying competitors will gain an advantage and DKK will look totally outdated to a modern consumer. Doing this step-by-step breakdown leaves the marker in absolutely no doubt that you get the strategic picture.
So as you gear up for the final push, use this as your ultimate filter for every single piece of advice you write down on exam day. Does my recommendation align with DKK's premium brand positioning? If you suggest a shiny, hyper-efficient new IT system but it destroys their personalized luxury feel, well then it's fundamentally a bad strategy for DKK. Keep that central tension front and center. It actually leaves us with a pretty fascinating real-world question to ponder even after the exam. In an increasingly automated digital world, is the slight friction of real human interaction actually the ultimate luxury? Keep that in mind as you review the full document. Thanks so much for exploring this with us, and best of luck on your exam.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you're a focused learner gearing up to crush the upcoming ACCA SBL exam, well, you're in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking the macro-environmental pressures facing our fictional company DKK, and we'll be using the classic pestle framework to do it. We're going to break down the pre-scene analysis so you're completely prepared for whatever the examiner decides to throw your way. But before we even touch the external stuff, we've got to frame our entire analysis around one absolutely massive question. How does a 40-year-old luxury brand modernize without losing its soul? Seriously, this is DKK's ultimate strategic dilemma. Every single political, economic, social, technological, or environmental pressure we cover today has to be viewed through this specific lens. Think about it. If DKK changes too fast, they alienate their core client base. But if they don't change at all, they just get left behind. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're basing our breakdown entirely on the comprehensive pre-scene analysis provided by the XP Group. This official document makes it incredibly clear that DKK is standing at a major strategic crossroads right now. There are premium brands operating in an industry that is shifting at lightning speed, and they are feeling some tremendous external pressure to adapt. So to systematically evaluate these pressures, we're going to use the pestle framework. Here's our agenda for today. First, DKK's strategic crossroads, then political and economic pressures, followed by social shifts and demands. After that, we'll hit the technological imperative, and finally, environmental and ESG factors. Let's get to it. Section 1. DKK's strategic crossroads, the premium positioning of a legacy brand. To really grasp the external threats they're facing, we first need to establish DKK's baseline. Just look at this impressive profile. DKK isn't just your run-of-the-mill salon. They're the third largest chain in K-Land. They've got 40 years of success under their belts, operating 50 high-end, luxurious salon locations. They employ 390 highly skilled hairdressers. They cater exclusively to a wealthy, fiercely loyal customer base and maintain exclusive supplier partnerships for top-tier styling tools and products. The main takeaway here, DKK competes purely on luxury, reputation, and personalized exclusivity. They absolutely do not compete on price. Which brings us to the crucial so what of it all. How exactly does DKK adapt to a totally transformed industry without destroying the premium reputation that took them 4 decades to build? Any recommendation you make in your exam has to perfectly balance the push for modern efficiency with the absolute necessity of preserving that luxurious, personalized customer experience. Moving right along to Section 2. Political and economic pressures, legislation, costs, and resilience. Let's look at the P and the E in pestle. Politically and legally, DKK is bound by strict compliance factors. They have to navigate complex employment laws and tight health and safety compliance across all 50 salons.
Plus, and this is a big one, stringent data protection requirements. When you're holding the personal details of high net worth clients, a data breach is a nightmare. There are also industry-specific rules like mandatory patch testing before chemical treatments. For a premium brand like DKK, a compliance failure isn't just a slap on the wrist or a fine. It's a massive reputational risk that could literally destroy client trust overnight.
Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is the commercial contrast we're seeing. Economically, DKK is definitely vulnerable. They're facing rising energy and water costs, inflationary pressures driving up wages, and price hikes from those exclusive supply chain partners. But on the flip side, look at their economic strengths. Because their clients are wealthy and loyal, DKK's revenue shows incredible resilience during economic downturns. Actually, scratch that. It's more like an economic shield. Their premium pricing strategy allows them to absorb a lot of cost volatility without instantly scaring off their clientele.
Okay, on to Section 3, social shifts and demands, changing consumer and labor dynamics.
Society and the labor market are evolving fast. We're seeing some massive macro social trends here. There is a surging societal interest in appearance and well-being right now, which is great because it sustains the demand for high-end luxury experiences. But we're also seeing rapidly increasing eco-consciousness among clients. They want to know the brands they use align with their personal values. And then there's the big one, severe industry-wide staff shortages of experienced hairdressers.
So let's apply that so what rule again. In a service business like this, you have to remember, the employees literally are the product. If DKK starts losing its highly skilled hairdressers to independent salons because of these shortages, or because they fail to motivate them, the luxury brand just instantly falls apart. Retaining top talent isn't just a box for HR to check, it is a fundamental pillar of DKK's survival.
Section 4. The technological imperative, adopting to a digital industry.
The new normal is digital, folks. The hairdressing industry is fully embracing tech, and this is an absolutely critical Tier 1 priority for your SBL exam prep. This breakdown perfectly highlights what competitors are up to. They're using 24/7 online booking systems, automated SMS appointment reminders to slash no-show rates, and fully integrated salon management software. We're even seeing wild innovations like augmented reality hairstyle previews and highly advanced social media marketing. This isn't the future, this is what the market expects right now.
But then we look at the stark reality of DKK's situation. While competitors are adopting all these digital systems for unmatched customer convenience, DKK is, shockingly, miles behind. It's almost hard to believe, but they are still heavily relying on outdated paper appointment books and manual inventory management. No way, right? This reliance on legacy systems is creating massive operational inefficiencies. Think double bookings, admin delays, things that endlessly frustrate both their highly skilled staff and their premium clients.
However, and remember, SBL markers absolutely love a balanced argument, you've got to weigh this carefully. The digital opportunity is obvious. Streamlined efficiency, potential e-commerce revenue, modern convenience, but the luxury risk is severe. The fear is that over-automation could completely damage that highly personalized, exclusive feel DKK is famous for. Does a wealthy client really want to interact with a cold, automated booking bot, or do they expect a warm, premium welcome from a dedicated receptionist? You have to balance the operational benefits of tech against the potential loss of that human touch.
Finally, Section 5, Environmental and ESG Factors. The green imperative.
Running 50 busy salons comes with some heavy macro-environmental realities. We're talking about massive daily water usage at the basins, significant electricity consumption for all those styling tools and lights, a super high volume of waste generation, and a heavy reliance on chemical products. With utility prices being as volatile as they are and clients becoming vastly more eco-conscious, just maintaining the status quo is simply not a viable long-term strategy anymore.
But going green is a real double-edged sword. On one side, it offers ethical branding, boosts loyalty among those eco-conscious clients, and delivers long-term utility savings. On the flip side, the implementation challenges are steep. High upfront costs, operational downtime to retrofit 50 salons, and the very real struggle to find sustainable suppliers that actually meet DKK's strict luxury standards. Whatever you recommend, avoid superficial greenwashing at all costs. Focus on genuine, measurable ESG integration.
So as we wrap up this explainer and you finalize your exam revision, I want to leave you with this one provocative question to chew on. Can DKK digitize its customer relationships without making the experience feel less exclusive?
Mastering that incredibly delicate balance between modernization and luxury preservation is the absolute key to unlocking a passing grade for DKK. Keep that firmly in your mind as you study. You're going to do great. Good luck.
All right, let's dive into this explainer on the ACCA SBL June 2026 pre-scene for luxury brand DKK.
We're turning this massive 31-page document into a high-yield, exam-focused review so you can absolutely crush it.
Think about it. Can a premium luxury brand actually survive on paper appointment books? That's DKK's massive dilemma. We'll break this down using the classic 4 pillars: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. DKK is a wildly successful 40-year-old brand, but they're stuck in the past. It's a huge crossroads. Okay, starting with quadrant 1, strengths. What internal advantages power their premium status? They've got a stellar reputation, insanely skilled hairdressers, and an incredibly loyal, wealthy client base. And honestly, in a premium service like this, the staff literally are the product. That's their ultimate strength. But guys, the contrast between their gorgeous high-end salons and their clunky back office is jarring. Which brings us to quadrant 2, weaknesses. Specifically, their massive, crippling digital lag. It's wild. No online booking, manual inventory, and they literally still use physical paper diaries. For your exam, this means severe operational drag and a huge risk of looking totally outdated to clients. Let's flip to quadrant 3, opportunities. How can DKK externally evolve this brand? Digital transformation is key here. But remember, this takes real change management, not just buying fancy software. They could also leverage ethical sourcing and social media to grab those modern eco-conscious consumers. But here's the million-dollar question. How do you digitize without making it feel cheap or less exclusive? Finally, quadrant 4, threats. What external industry dangers are lurking out there for DKK? This risk register shows some major red flags. Industry staff shortages and fierce competition are immediate, high-impact threats. Plus, they face massive concentration risk, since they depend dangerously on just 2 exclusive global supplier contracts. The scary part? If they lose those highly skilled hairdressers, DKK's whole premium service model completely collapses. All right, let's pull this all together. To ace this exam, you need the SBL examiner's mindset. You must explicitly answer this. How can DKK modernize without trashing its luxury positioning? Always evaluate trade-offs. If a recommendation boosts digital efficiency but ruins their bespoke luxury feel, you lose marks. Will modernizing secure DKK's future or destroy its exclusive magic? Keep that in mind, and good luck. All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We're breaking down the June 2026 ACCA SBL pre-scene document for Dennis & Coco Limited, or DKK. Look, if you're gearing up for this exam, you already know staring down a 31-page scenario is, well, incredibly stressful. It's so easy to fall into that trap of just trying to memorize every single fact, right? Instead of actually analyzing them strategically. So we're going to flip the script. We're transforming all that dense information into a highly actionable, exam-ready strategy. We're looking past the fluff and zooming strictly in on what the examiner is literally begging you to notice. That way, you walk into that exam hall totally ready to score. So here's our roadmap to passing. We're going to start with DKK's strategic crossroads, then tackle their Tier 1 priorities. After that, we'll hit key risks and support themes, load up your analytical tool belt, and finally, lock down your exam strategy. Let's get to it. Section 1, DKK's strategic crossroads. The absolutely crucial thing to realize right out of the gate here is that DKK isn't just some local hairdressing business. It's a premium brand at a massive turning point. The examiner is totally using this company as a vehicle to test broader business strategy. And to get where they are today, you gotta look at their history. They've enjoyed 40 years of success using very, very traditional methods. I mean, they've built an absolute empire relying on an artisan approach. We're talking highly skilled staff who've honed their craft for years, exceptional one-on-one service, and this incredibly exclusive reputation spanning generations of incredibly loyal clients. But here's the catch. That 40-year legacy? It's both their greatest strength and their heaviest anchor. Today, DKK is operating at a seriously impressive scale. They've got 50 salons and 390 skilled hairdressers, making them the 3rd largest chain in all of K-Land. Their whole operation is completely anchored in prime high street locations,
super luxurious environments, and heavily personalized customer service. They absolutely do not compete on price. They compete entirely on the experience. But as you can imagine, those premium salon locations come with astronomical fixed costs. Rent, high-end fit-outs, premium maintenance, the whole shebang. To survive with overheads like that, every single salon has to operate flawlessly and maintain a premium price point just to generate the necessary margins.
And this brings us to the central tension of the entire case. While you're pre-reading hints at a top 10 list of focus areas, ranging from supply chain logistics to local marketing, the real core dilemma is this. The industry is evolving rapidly, right? Driven by tech, social media, and major shifts in sustainability expectations. So how does DKK modernize its totally outdated operations without destroying the luxury exclusive positioning that literally built its brand over the last 4 decades? This is classic SBL territory, guys. It's the exact lens you've got to look through when reading almost every single issue in this case.
Moving on to Section 2, Tier 1 Priorities.
These are your heavy hitters. Like I said, keep those top 10 focus areas in the back of your mind, but these 4 right here, digital transformation, sustainability and ESG, HR and retention, and strategic change management. These are your absolute Tier 1 priorities. These are the themes most likely to dominate your exam questions for sure. This is where the wider market is moving at lightning speed, and honestly, where DKK is lagging dangerously behind. You need to be deeply, intensely comfortable discussing all 4 of these from a high-level strategic management perspective. So, let's take that first one. Ask yourself this highly likely exam question. Should a luxury brand like this implement online booking and CRM systems? The examiner repeatedly points out their incredibly limited digital engagement, but tread carefully here. Just saying, yeah, they should buy software because it's 2026 is way too basic. SBL markers are hunting for real commercial awareness, not just some generic IT fix. They want to see that you actually get how technology intersects with business strategy.
Let's elevate a basic observation into a major scoring point. If you just write down the use paper, the marker's going to think, okay, so what? But if you formulate a jackpot bullet point, noting that paper systems create operational inefficiencies and double bookings, which directly risks making DKK appear outdated to modern affluent consumers, boom, hit the nail on the head. That is how you score. Today's tech-savvy clients expect a totally frictionless digital experience. If DKK makes it a hassle just to book an appointment, competitors are going to seamlessly swoop in and capture that high-net-worth market share. You absolutely have to tie the operational risk of outdated tech directly to brand damage and lost revenue.
Sustainability is another massive theme we're dealing with. The scenario is just packed with details about water usage, energy consumption, and an increasingly eco-conscious client base. But remember, SBL markers demand balanced analysis. You really have to evaluate the trade-offs. Yes, there are major reputational benefits, like ethical branding that strongly appeals to wealthy, environmentally aware clients. But on the flip side, you've got harsh commercial realities. We're talking high capital expenditure to retrofit 50 salons for water conservation, serious operational disruptions during those upgrades, and massive challenges in sourcing genuinely sustainable premium products that actually perform to a luxury standard. You've always got to weigh those shiny environmental benefits against the real commercial costs. Now, when we look at HR and retention, keep this quote front and center. Employees are really part of the product. If service quality falls, the brand falls. In a premium service business, the employees literally are the product. DKK is facing severe industry-wide staff shortages right now. Their 390 highly skilled hairdressers are their ultimate competitive advantage, but those shortages severely weaken DKK's bargaining power. Think about it. If DKK loses a top stylist to a competitor, they don't just lose a staff member. They likely lose that stylist's entire roster of wealthy, fiercely loyal clients. You've got to be ready to discuss motivation, reward systems, internal promotion pathways, and how a rock-solid organizational culture actively protects the bottom line.
All right, Section 3, Key Risks and Support Themes.
Let's zoom in on the supporting cast of risks that really provide vital context here, starting with their supply chain. DKK relies heavily on 2 major exclusive contracts for premium styling tools and products. Now sure, this differentiates their brand and builds a barrier to entry, but this heavy dependence makes them incredibly vulnerable. It creates extreme concentration risk. What happens if a supplier takes a reputational hit? Say they get caught using unethical labor practices. That reputational contagion immediately spreads right to DKK's luxury brand. Plus, if a supplier suddenly hikes prices or cuts supply, DKK's profitability takes a direct, massive hit, and they have almost no negotiating power to stop it.
To monitor these underlying risks, you've got to keep a really close eye on critical KPIs. Client retention tells you if the luxury experience is actually working. Staff satisfaction directly predicts future service quality. And you must pay special attention to the retail sales percentage. Retail margins are significantly higher than service margins. Historically, this sat above 6%, but it's recently been declining. Why is that alarming? Because selling those high-margin retail shampoos and styling tools helps subsidize the massive fixed costs of those prime salon locations we talked about. A drop here acts as a crucial early warning system for deeper strategic failures, maybe in product marketing or shifting consumer habits.
Section 4. The Analytical Tool Belt.
Look, theory gets you absolutely nowhere if it isn't grounded in the case scenario. Knowing how to apply standard business models directly to DKK is vital. When you build a tailored SWOT analysis, every single point has to be firmly rooted in DKK's specific reality. The strengths, their premium brand and loyal clients. The weaknesses are super specific, paper booking systems and manual inventory. The threats aren't just generic competition, it's the severe industry staff shortages and tech-savvy rivals. And hey, don't stop there. Bring in Porter's 5 forces to really wow the examiner. Think about supplier power, which is incredibly high due to those exclusive contracts we just discussed. Or the threat of substitutes for mobile, tech-savvy freelance stylists who don't have the overhead of a premium salon. That level of targeted application is exactly how you rack up the points.
Similarly, a pestle analysis perfectly highlights the external pressures forcing DKK to adapt. Economically, they're facing volatile energy and water costs. Though their wealthy clientele does offer some economic resilience during downturns, socially, there's a massive shift towards sustainability and digital convenience. And politically and legally, they have to navigate strict employment laws and rigorous health and safety compliance, like allergy patch testing rules for chemical dyes, which just adds to the operational complexity. You can clearly see how these external market forces are actively demanding strategic change from DKK's management.
And finally, Section 5, Exam Strategy.
Let's talk about how you're actually going to execute all this knowledge on exam day. The June exam will highly likely ask you to evaluate modernization initiatives, and they will absolutely want it in a specific professional format. You really need to prepare for a board report, a recommendation memo, a briefing paper, or a strategic evaluation document. What does that actually mean for you? Well, a board report needs a clear introduction, structured headings for each strategic point, and crisp, actionable conclusions. Strictly following the requested layout, like making a memo actually look like a memo, is literally the easiest way to secure presentation marks. Seriously, do not throw those easy professional marks away just because you forgot to write a to and from line.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to carry this provocative question with you into the exam hall. Can DKK modernize its operations without losing its luxury soul? Will digitizing the booking system ruin that personal touch? Will expanding too fast dilute the brand's exclusivity? This is the ultimate balancing act that's going to define every single strategic recommendation you make for Dennis & Coco Ltd. Keep this central tension in mind, apply it directly to your models, and you will absolutely crush this exam. Good luck with your prep.